And good evening. Today is November 4th. Right now it is 7:30. I'm calling to order this evening's meeting of the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission. For the benefit of those who have not participated in a Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, our procedures are as follows. The Secretary will read the legal notice of the meeting as published in the local newspapers. The applicant will be invited to come forward and present the case, explaining to the Commission and others present what is being requested of this property. Comments of town agencies will be read for each application if there are any. First, there'll be clarifying questions from the commissioners, and then there will be an opportunity for clarifying questions from the audience. Next, we'll ask those who want to support the application to come forward, and second, we'll ask those opposing the application to come forward. As this is a public meeting and must be recorded, it will be necessary for speakers to identify themselves by stating their name and address before addressing the commission. The applicant will then be free to leave or remain for the balance of the public hearing and the regular meeting, during which time the commission will try to reach a decision on each application. Each applicant will be notified in writing as to the decision of the commission and has the right to appeal to Superior Court if desired. Decisions of this meeting are available the day after the meeting by calling the Planning and Zoning Office at 203-453-8039 after 9 a.m. I want to introduce the members of the Planning and Zoning Commission. We have our recording secretary, Lisa Brewer, and then we have George Underhill, Josh Hirschman, Ray Bauer, I'm Rich Meyer, Richard Wallace, Walter Corbehill, and Tom Cost, and George Krell, and Reggie Reed, and Shannon Gale is doing the recording for us tonight. Mr. Secretary, will you read the notice?
Notice is hereby given that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing on November 4th, 2015 at 7:30 p.m. Location, the Guilford Fire Department, 390 Church Street, Guilford, Connecticut, for the following purposes. Joseph Viviani, 264 Granite Road, map 71, lot 6, zone R8. Application for special permit for accessory apartment and guest accommodations in detached garage, section 273-19 and 273-36. Michael Graziano, 144 Sperry Drive, map 42, lot 84, zone R3. Special permit, music school, article 10, table 3, line 22. Dominic and Donna Latella, 94 Cooks Lane, map 122, lot 17, zone R8. Request to rescind special permit granted on 11/19/14 to allow 6 horses. Section 273-243, subsection B1E3. Zero Horse Island, LLC, Guilford, Connecticut. Map 7, lot 22, zone R5. Coastal area management application, replace septic system, removal of invasive plants, section 273-91. William Thompson, AIA and Associates, LLC, architect, 506 Whitfield Street, map 29, lot 100, zone C-2M, lots 82 and 81. R3 zone, coastal area management site plan and special permit for marine research office. Sections 273-91, 273-247. Cheryl Pileggi, 133 Shell Beach Road, map 13, lot 2, zone R5. Revision to coastal area management application approved on December 10th, 2014, relocating 2 1,500-gallon underground water tanks, sections 273-91. Simon Draper, Liberato Pelosi, 125 Water Street, map 32, lot 17, zone R3. Change of use from music studio to art workshop and storage office use already permitted, 273-13, non-conforming uses, section 273-13C. James Portman, town engineer of Guilford, town of Guilford, 50 Boston Street, coastal area management application, reconstruction of Long Hill Road from Boston Post Road, Route 1 to Hubbard Road. Copies of these applications are available for inspection in the office of the Planning and Zoning Commission, Town Hall South, 50 Boston Street, Guilford, Connecticut. At this hearing, persons may attend and be heard, and written comment will be received. Dated this 14th day of October 2015, Richard Meyer, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. So a couple little changes tonight. We're not going to follow the normal order. We're going to try and get all the little applications out of the way and on their way before we go into the application by Mr. Thompson for 506 Woodfield Street. All the commissioners that are seated tonight, we have 7 members here, and they're all going to be voting members. Can I get a motion for Mr. Viviani?
Motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Viviani. Come on up. Join in.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
will
that's
be
probably
overseen.
good. Thank you. We'll see. That's perfect. Thank you, sir.
Hello, I'm Joseph Viviani, I live at 264 Granite Road.
It's not live.
Yeah.
It's not live, it's fine.
It's okay. We can hear you.
Okay. I've never done this before, so I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. So if you have questions, I'm
Okay.
applying for a special permit. We've been living in this home since 1998. And the garage has a bathroom and cooking facilities, and it's been brought to our attention if we want to use this, we need to have a special permit, and certain upgrades need to be made to our septic system. So I'm here tonight to ask permission from you folks and the town officials if I apply with whatever they want, if I'm able to have this done. Thank you.
That's good.
Do we have a site plan or any kind of a diagram as to what we're looking at here or voting on?
I do,
Here it comes.
and I
Good.
think they'd be on file.
Reg, this meets all the requirements, setbacks, everything else?
Yes, it does. It meets the setback requirements. I did your little zoning worksheet on it,
Okay.
and I would recommend approval of it because it does meet our zoning code.
You have to update something, sir, a septic system, has that been done?
We have to put in, I believe, 84 feet of new septic system, a 1,500-gallon two-stage tank, and that's on the proposal, but I believe it's 40 feet of mantis. And we have to bring in fill and I think rock. And I think the trench has to be 10 feet wide and 84 feet long.
Wow.
So that's what I know.
we-
And the contractor is, it's on file, and it's Jerry Torino, and he's in North Branford.
Perfect.
We have a letter from Dennis Johnson, Director of Health, dated November 3rd regarding this application. Tests conducted on the applicant's property on November 2nd, 2015 revealed suitable soil and site conditions for enlargement of the septic system to accommodate a 4-bedroom septic system design flow. Based upon soil test results and site plan review, it is recommended that the applicant's proposed use be approved with the following condition. A new septic system shall be installed to accommodate the proposed in-law apartment prior to occupancy. And you don't have a problem to make that part of the approval, that condition?
So I don't have a
Okay.
problem with that, sir.
All right, good.
Good.
Okay, I'm all set.
All set, all
What
set,
you're
all
showing
set.
on here is a one-bedroom unit, and you're telling me there's 4 bedrooms? Is that correct?
If this is approved, I'll have 4 bedrooms.
This is approving a 1-bedroom.
This is,
Is it, right?
that's the bathroom.
Where's the bedroom?
There isn't really a bedroom, but because it has the toilet and it has cooking facilities, there possibly could be a bedroom, but right now, there's just a couch.
The whole house could be 4 bedrooms.
Could be.
It's okay, but this is not a basement apartment, is it?
No, no, that's,
No,
it's a garage.
It is a garage.
It's not-
I was just asking the gentleman if this was a garage type of operation. It's not. This is a full house. What is the size of the square footage of the house?
720 feet.
720 feet? Okay. And it's 720 square feet big. Oh, yes, that's right.
All set, George? All set? Josh?
Oh, yeah.
You're fine, I'm fine. Everyone on this side, we're all fine? You want to do it, sir?
Sure. Well, we have to get the public.
Right, you had to make a motion and we'll go into discussion. or-
Well, no, we got to get the public's comments first.
Okay. Does anyone want to share comments on this particular property with anybody? Okay. Would any members of the public like to comment on this application? Come on down. Come on down.
The microphone will work or no?
No.
We need your name and address too, please, for the record. Thank you.
I'm Lauren Sturman. I live at 511 Granite Road. I am 2 driveways over from the Vivianis, and I wanted to speak in favor of the application because I think that it affects no one but them. So it is, I've been to their property, I've seen how it fits with, it's not an addition, it's just the garage. So I wanted to speak in favor of the application.
That's great, thank you. Appreciate it. Anyone else want to speak? Sir?
Hi, I'm David Valley, 308 Granite Road, immediate next door neighbor to the Vivianis. I wish to speak in favor of this application. I also speak for my brother, Robert Valley, at 300 Granite Road, who could not be here tonight. It appears to have no impact on us or our property. I assume that this is being used in conjunction with your bed and breakfast?
No, we plan on selling the property in 5 years or so, so we want to make it all up to par.
Okay, no problem here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Anyone else want to speak? Last chance. All right. Want to go with it?
Okay, we don't have a motion, so I'm going to wing this.
I think we have to continue this. Yes.
Was this a special
Move
permit?
the continuance.
Oh, Walter,
I'll
second.
make a motion to continue this to the 11/18/2015 hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, folks.
We'll do it again in 2 weeks.
Thank you, Tom.
That's great. Can I get a motion from Mr. Graziano?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Graziano.
Mike Graziano, 144 Sperry Drive. Basically, I just want to continue giving lessons after 35 years in my house. I do one lesson at a time. I don't know why it has to be listed as a school. I noticed that was in the paper. I'm not interested in making a school. I just want to give my private lessons, as I said, one at a time. There's enough parking in my driveway for 2 cars. If that was an issue or not, I don't know. But it's a dead-end street. There's only 6 houses on the street past me on the same side as mine. So it's not a big deal about parking on the street. That's it. But like I said, years ago, about 35 years ago, I did have a neighbor that complained to Mr. McAvoy, who I believe was the zoning officer at that time, back in 1980, something one. And he said there was no issue. So, again, I was already cleared at one time to do these lessons, and now I'm coming back again for the special permit because the Reggie said there was basically no record of that particular conversation or whatever at the time.
Good. Well, thank you. You guys have questions?
Reggie, how did he get in front of us today? What prompted, why is he here right now? What prompted this
A
application?
concern from a neighbor.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Is it in our purview to waive the fee on this one?
It's up to the commission.
That would be next time anyway.
You have a request, but this does have to have a second public hearing.
All right.
You said that you only have one guest at one student at a time?
That's it.
That's it.
George?
Okay, thank you.
Josh?
I asked my question.
Right.
Nope.
All set? Any members of the public have questions or comments? So we got some comments. Come on down.
We're gonna go together.
Okay,
Over here.
you'll love it.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Paula Konareski. I live at 192 Sperry Drive.
And I just want to say, I'm Erin Connolly, and I live at 182 Sperry Drive.
I'm not opposed to you doing music, having a music school or doing lessons, however many
Me
that you
neither.
want. But, you know, kids are getting dropped off in the road and, you know, piled up in the, right in front of a camper. And we think that you should be using your driveway, but you can't because there's a massive 40 or 50-foot camper.
RV that's
It's an
almost in the
RV
road.
that it really, it's never moved since I moved there in 2010.
Or since I've been there in 2005.
And it's considered, there's something, a provision in the town that's considered light or, like, it's not used.
You're bringing something that has nothing to do with this
Well,
application.
It does
if you're
because
doing
we're-
commercial work, you should be using your driveway and not
And not our
having people
street.
in the street.
The road is a dead-end road, and you can park on the street.
We live on the cul-de-sac.
We're not allowed to
We're
park in the
6 houses.
street. We get tagged when we park in the street.
So
And
you
there's
can
more than
respond
six.
you can respond right after, just let them do the remaining minute and then.
The RV's never moved.
We have
and
pictures of it.
We have pictures of the RV, if we can show you the pictures. And if he's going to be having people come in for lessons, children being dropped off, they should be really dropped off in a driveway, not in the middle of the road. Right now, they're being dropped off in the middle of the road. Well,
And
the
they
RV
block
just
the
has to be
road.
moved.
And we all have kids on that road, and it's blocking the road on, you know, and there's not a lot of ways to go through.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
So are you contending that he doesn't have adequate parking if there's an
Yes.
RV in his driveway?
for a business.
The RV is going to be moved back to where it was for 15 years, which is 30 feet back into an area that was, I moved the
front
RV
yard?
so that my neighbor could grow grass, and he had to cut all those trees down that were there. So the grass is now about this high, so I'm going to move it back tomorrow morning and hit fine.
I think you
To
moved
where it
it so
was.
you could get a driveway.
You moved it, yeah, just a little bit, but it's been sitting there on an angle, and it's like the first thing you see when it comes down the road is, and
I can park it on the
there's no
street.
room. You can't park it on the street. You can't park it on the
huge
street. It's a
RV.
massive RV.
Street.
Again, it's on my property.
I mean, we
It's not
can
me.
send you the photos of the RV.
I have photos. I'm gonna go out.
You have them, oh, okay.
Talk to-
Oh, you live, it's across the street.
Oh, okay, so your contention is there's not adequate parking?
There
with the
isn't.
RV?
Kids are being
And
dropped off in the
He
road.
has lessons, and I've heard you're a fabulous teacher, and we are not opposed to him being
Okay,
there, but they're always, the people wait out front in their car for the students, and there's not enough parking.
okay,
And so it's blocking the street every time because people can't just pull in his driveway
okay,
to drop the kids off for lessons. So that's our issue.
perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that.
Do you want to?
Once the RV is moved back, there's going to be 31 feet across, and there's no problem with two people parking.
All right,
in the
now you're going
driveway.
to be back here in 2 weeks, right, for the second hearing. So by then, this is going to be taken care of?
It's again, tomorrow morning, 8
Okay.
o'clock. I know they're
So-
going to be moving it, so.
This is also going to be heard on 11/18. So this should be resolved by then, and you can come back on the 18th. If it's not, let us know.
Where do we talk about, like, the lights in the yard? It looks terrible.
Well,
Things
right
not
now,
even-
okay?
Right now?
This
Well,
is the time.
that's an
Provision
issue too. He's going to
142
move it
and-
in his front yard again.
30 feet.
Which
I
is
mean,
pretty much, you come down our road, which is a very nice street, and that's the only thing I've seen since I moved there in 2005.
Yeah, not been
And,
moved.
I mean, everyone on the street complains about that. I mean,
Well,
it's
there
an
were
issue.
trees there that you could even see
It
them.
it doesn't
still saw
matter, it's in
that
the
when
front
the
of your
trees
yard.
were
I didn't
there.
know you could park a 50-foot
Anyway,
RV
it was
in
there
your
for
front yard.
14 years, so it was there before you moved there.
Well, it
should be in the back
shouldn't
of
be
the
there
house.
at all.
All right, so.
All right. Yeah.
We'll revisit this in the
Yes.
next meeting, let's see if this issue can be resolved. Sir, do you want to speak?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
I brought 4 copies of pictures and a few other documents from commission.
You can take that part of the record.
We're going to get that down and Josh share.
Take a look, Josh.
Share and
Put it in the record.
So these are all the same, right?
Every envelope's the same, and I'll talk about some of the content. My name is Dr. Douglas Gladu. I live at 147 Sperry Drive, directly across. G-L-A-D-U-E. 147 Sperry Drive, and I live directly across from Mr. Graziano. And I'll just start saying I think a picture says 1,000 words, and this is the RV that we're all talking about. And as you can see here, these are 2 cars for his business with 2 parents waiting in them for students at his music school. And there's multiple pictures all throughout the envelopes I gave the committee. As you can see here, there is the planning and zoning sign. This is a recent picture, and there is no respect even for this meeting to move the RV. To go into more detail, I'm going to say he has 2 businesses, the music school and LRL Video. But today the special permit is just about the music school. As P&Z is aware, Sperry Drive is a dead-end street with very limited traffic, which is the reason why I bought my house, limited traffic. However, I quickly realized Sperry Drive has a lot of traffic due to both businesses of Mr. Graziano. According to Guilford zoning regulations, a handicraft business must provide on-site parking for their clients. Mr. Graziano has never made any attempt to do this. His clients are forced to park on the street. This happens either in front of my home or in front of Mr. Graziano's. Interestingly, a friend of mine parked his truck in front of Mr. Graziano's house, only to have Mr. Graziano call the police. And approximately 10 minutes after he parked, the police determined the truck was actually a visitor and was perfectly legally parked. This is to show that the Grazianos do not tolerate street parking that is not their own. To make this worse, most of Mr. Graziano's customers are driven by someone else to the music lesson. This person waits in their car only feet from my property. Imagine always having a car outside of your window with a stranger watching you. The parking problem is further enhanced as the residents of Mr. Graziano's house utilize a number of vehicles, 3 cars, a minivan, an enclosed 10-foot utility trailer, and the RV that is approximately 40 to 45 feet long.
It's 33.
33. I didn't measure it. With solely the vehicles of the occupants, there is no room in the driveway for Mr. Graziano's business clients. I bought several pictures that I have passed out today in the folder. Current zoning regulations do not consider any paved or non-paved driveway that is not reachable from the road. As you can see, the RV blocks all of the driveway. Parking on the grass is not considered off-site parking. For approximately the last year, the driveway has been completely blocked by this recreational vehicle, although it partially blocked the driveway ever since I moved in. In addition, in the letter that Mr. Graziano sent to his neighbors regarding this hearing, which I also provided a copy to zoning and hearing, you can plainly see that Mr. Graziano doesn't care about any of his neighbors' concerns. He said, to paraphrase in that letter, that zoning basically wants to see if he has adequate parking in his driveway, and he does. I don't think so. This is a real bold statement, seeing this picture was photographic evidence of music clients parking on the street just this Saturday. In fact, a lot of these pictures do show this public hearing sign. This even shows that even though he's applying for a special permit, he has prevented his clients to park in his driveway. He doesn't care. To substantiate my claim, Reggie Reed and George Kyle have drove by the home on September 10th, 2015, and they saw a similar parking situation as to this. So I have a couple of questions for the planning and zoning. If adequate parking is made by Mr. Graziano, whose responsibility is it to ensure the spaces are clear from snow, from debris? Is this the town or is this Mr. Graziano's?
Mr. Graziano.
Thank you. Who is responsible to ensure that the business customers do not park on the road? Is this the town or is this Mr. Graziano's?
Well, it'd be Mr. Graziano's.
So just to summarize the parking problem, often clients of his music school are driven to the music school and a parent or 2 wait in the car from the lesson. Because there is no on-site parking, there are constantly people waiting in the cars in front of my home. This is an invasion of my privacy. The properties on Sperry Drive are very small, so imagine every time you walked out your front door, there are 1 or 2 people you do not know that do not live on the street in their car watching you. Because there is no room in the Graziano driveway to turn around, clients constantly back up into my driveway or onto my front yard. This is a particular concern to me as I have a toddler who is not allowed to play in his yard without the fear of cars hitting him. Several instances, a car is backed up on my lawn while I am in the front lawn with my son. I'm concerned that as he gets older, I may not be as close to him as I am now, and he will get hit. Sperry Drive is extremely narrow. Cars from the business also make it hard to pass on Sperry Drive. I have asked people to move just to get out of my own driveway. This is even more of a concern in the winter. Mr. Graziano has never made an attempt in the winter to clear any area for his clients for the entire duration I have lived there. The snow causes them to park not on the edge of the road, but the edge of the snow bank. So you can imagine how narrow this road is. If Mr. Graziano makes his driveway accessible to his clients just to get this special permit, I ask the question to P&Z again, whose responsibility is it to clear the spots of the road?
Mr. Graziano.
Thank you.
Off the road?
What was that?
Or
Off the public road.
the snow off of the driveway.
The driveway would be Mr. Graziano, but the road would be the town road.
And no one should be parking on the road for the business, so you don't have to worry about it. A stipulation to any permit should also say that parking spaces have to be snow-free before his business is able to operate in the winter. So, not everyone is aware of all the laws, so we will talk about it. Currently, the parking problem violates several zoning laws. Section 273-50-B states, off-street parking and loading spaces required by this article shall be permanently maintained and made available for occupancy in connection with and for the full duration of the use of land, buildings, and other structures for which the spaces are herein required. Off-street parking may be open parking within a garage or within a structure or any combination thereof, meaning the total minimum requirement standards. Currently, there is no parking.
That's not true. Stop saying that.
Section
Mr.
273.
Chairman, on a point of order, that this is important, but we do need, since we are going to face pretty long nights tonight, we do need to have a specific time limit for members of the public.
I'll wrap it up real quick.
Because otherwise, if we do 8 minutes.
I enclosed all of these
Thank you.
laws in the documents that you guys have. Violates section 273-55A, 27351, 27355C, and 273-E. I understand that these can be changed by the commission. However, it has to be based upon the current usage of his home. And I want you guys to remember there are 3 passenger cars, a minivan, a 10-foot trailer, a large RV, plus 2 cars spaces that are required for the handicraft.
That it, sir?
That'll be it for tonight. I'll let you guys carry on.
Thank
Thank
you
you for
very much.
listening to me, and
Appreciate your input.
sorry for everyone that doesn't care about this issue. It's here for something
Well, we all
else.
care, sir. We're all neighbors.
Can I rebut any of that?
Absolutely. Take a minute or two, please.
Okay. 2 of the cars are being parked behind the house. I have a driveway that goes up behind the house. You can actually put 3 up there, okay? The trailer is only 8 foot, plus the van. At that point, from the front of the van to the street, you can put 2 cars, one in front of the other. Plus, you can put another car on the side, because it's 31 feet. So there's actually parking for 3 cars when everybody's home and all the cars are home.
Right, but his picture showed your RV parked across the
Okay.
opening to the driveway.
Basically what happened was I had an RV that was parked for 14 years in one space. There's basically off my driveway, there's a little patch of driveway that my RV could back into, okay? There were 60 and 70-foot pine trees that needed to be cut down so my next door neighbor could put a new septic system in. So while they're cutting these huge trees down, I moved the RV. He then said he was going to plant grass, which never happened over the winter. And then the following fall, he said, oh, I'm going to put dirt down, whatever. And I said, okay, fine. So we put the dirt down, then he never planted the grass. And he finally planted the grass. And now, like I said, it's up this high. So now I can move the RV back.
So you're going to be back
Once I
here.
move the RV back,
You're going to be
the
back
whole
here in 2
driveway
weeks,
is
and
free.
and they're all going to say that you moved it, I hope. So, as part of the condition of approval, we may say there need to be a certain amount of parking spaces in your driveway. You realize that in order to operate your business, you would have to maintain those parking spaces. You can't.
They're in the middle of my driveway. In other words, in my driveway, there's 3 parking spaces.
Right.
How do they turn around though? How do they, turn
Excuse
around?
me, I'm talking to this gentleman. If he wants to have me talk, that's fine.
So we're clear that if you are granted approval, there will be parking spaces available in
Yeah,
in
it's
that
my
driveway.
main driveway. that's where they can park there.
And ma'am, to answer your question, and we really have to move it along, it's normal for people to back out of a driveway when they're leaving, so that is fine. If you have issues that pertain to blight, I would offer that the town has a way to deal with that. You file a blight complaint, the officers will step in and fix that problem.
And that's an ordinance as opposed to what we do, which is zoning regulations. So blight, blight can develop on something that completely meets our regulations, obviously.
Good. Okay, so anyone else have input on this case?
Can I finish?
Absolutely. Take another minute, but then we got to move along.
Well, I mean, basically, I ask people to park in the driveway, but sometimes people are not thinking. And as far as the RV has been there for a year. Before that, it was backed up and my driveway was free and people can go in and out. So at this point, I'm not sure what he's driving at. The time that the person was parking on my street was an oddball thing because I came home one day and there's a pickup truck on my side of the street, which in front of my house, which I'd never seen before, and I never saw it at his house before. So my first inclination was call the police and find out who this truck is. I didn't want to go into my house. Now you have to understand, I have literally caught 2 people on my street robbing. And I've helped the police capture those 2 people. Okay? So I'm a little shaky. It's right off the highway. So that's why I called the police that day. Okay? As far as, I only have one person on Monday, nobody on Tuesday, one person on Wednesday morning, 3 people, just 2 cars on Thursday. I don't have 40 people coming to my door. You know what I'm saying? I'm not running a school. Okay? And most of the time, he's not home when those kids are there because they're there at 3 and 4 o'clock in the afternoon. He doesn't come home until 5:36. Now, I do have some lessons on Saturday morning. I have about 4. So again, I'm not having dozens and dozens of people over. Right? Meantime, he has parties. He has people parking all over the lawn. He has 15 people, and the next morning they're still there.
All right, I don't mean to cut you off, but you really need to maintain order and move along. So, are you done for tonight?
Yeah. We'll revisit on 11/18.
Okay, so can I get a motion to continue this?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We'll see you in 2 weeks, sir.
Mr.
Yes, sir.
Chairman, we just need to set a time limit for the rest of the meeting because if we run this on the same time frame, we're going to run an 840-minute meeting, which
would be nice. We're going to be here all night.
Okay.
No, we're not. When we hit dawn, we hit dawn. 11:18.
What do I need to bring this
Okay,
time?
just so we're clear, okay, what I heard the neighbors complaining about was not so much the use, but the traffic. Okay, this is a special permit, which means this is not permitted as of right. We have a lot of discretion on the commission, and one of the things we look at in the regulations is it going to cause traffic problems or safety problems? So I think if I was you, what I would do between now and next week is address the problem that they've talked about with the traffic to ensure that you can get people to park in your driveway. If you do that, I think you will have addressed it. So that's what you need to do.
I would check in with PD too about, check in with PD
Okay.
about.
Moving right along.
Let's keep going.
Moving right along.
Okay, so can I get a motion for Mr. Littell? Are we tabling Mr. Littell?
I recommend you continue that to 12/2.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Can I get a motion for Simon Draper and Liberato Pelosi?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Not Draper and Pelosi. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it is.
Yeah, sorry.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Gentlemen, join right in.
My name is Liberato Pelosi. I'm from 154 Laurel Hill Road, Branford, Connecticut. My name is Liberato Pelosi. I'm from 154 Laurel Hill Road, Branford, Connecticut. I'm the owner of 125 Water Street in Guilford. We are applying for special use for converting the office space that was a music studio into an art storage and an art workshop. We're not changing any configuration in the building, any parking, anything outside is not being changed. It's just a use change of the inside. Everything's going to stay the same. It used to be a violin studio, like a school for violin where there was multiple students going at one time, but now it's going to be very limited to just Simon and maybe somebody else there visiting or something like that. But it's not going to be open for retail or nothing like that. And Simon's going to explain the type of business he's planning on operating.
You go, Simon.
Hello, I'm Simon Draper, 29 Whitfield Street, Guildford. I'm an artist. I've been working for over 30 years as an artist. I'm setting up a studio workshop in one of the rooms at Mr. Pelosi's building. The other 2 rooms will be used for storage, and then there'll be a small room used for an office. In terms of usage, it's just myself and maybe another. So in terms of its former use as a violin school, or its less use.
Sounds
That's
good.
it.
All right. Any questions, gentlemen?
Is there any, Reggie, is there any issue with septic or parking?
No, there's not. This still leads the mayor building?
No, so it's ample.
No,
Plenty of
there is
room.
not. As a matter of fact, because this will be used for an artist studio, he doesn't intend to have the public come in. He's simply going to do his own work there. It'll be a less intense use than the music school.
Good.
What are your hours of operation or days of operation?
Broadly, Monday through Friday, and 9 till 5.
And what would you consider as the maximum number of people who could attend at any one given time?
Met myself.
There you go. Pretty simple.
Record.
Well, good. What else? Josh, anything? Ray?
No, all
Nope.
set.
All clear? Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Any members of the public want to ask questions on this one? No? No. All
I'll
right,
make a
so,
motion to continue this to the 11/18.
Second.
Oh, wait a minute.
Wait,
We have
wait.
someone from-
oh, wait, someone is coming.
We open it.
Can I get a motion? Well, we never
Oh,
closed
it's
it.
still open.
No, it's still open.
Sorry. Sorry, Mr. Chair, I heard you say ask questions.
Join us.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. My name is John Casey. I'm an attorney with Robinson & Cole. I'm here with Bob Jelly, who lives across the street. For some of you, you probably remember us because we've been here before. This will be the 4th special permit for the property. And it's unusual because it's in a residential zone, but it's a commercial use. And as this commission considers the application, which we're not opposed to, but on a matter of principle in terms of the use and minimizing the non-conforming use to what Reggie said, we like to see the use become less and less intense and more conforming. So we just want to put some information on the record because we do have a history of coming here.
Hang on. Could be a
Time
fire.
up.
Response 125, Ms. Lane, Hill Strong, ED. This will be a 67-year-old female stroller. Now it's 25.
Okay.
So this room's out.
Yeah, we can't,
This is the last time.
we can't meet here. There's no parking and, right. So let's postpone any other meetings that have to be held here. I'm sorry, sir.
Okay, that's okay. So because there's a possibility we may be here again, we just want to get some information on the record. I don't think I have enough copies for everyone, but I'll get one to short the record. And you don't have to look at them now.
But we want to. We want to. We want to.
So just as you consider, when you consider this, and I know you'll have another hearing on this, but we want to put everything into perspective so that when you act on this application, you have a full history of what's going on. Because now we're modifying an existing second non-conforming use. It's a floor, right now it's the flooring showroom and the warehouse and the music studio. And the proposal is to change the music studio to the art studio and storage, which is less intensive. But as I said, we want to keep in mind what's gone on before, so that in keeping with your regulations, as non-conforming uses are changed or made into less intense
and more conforming uses. So what I've provided for you is just an assessor's map so you can see where it is, and then some of the documents about the history, which include the minutes of a March 2006 commission meeting and then the notice of the special permit that was granted in 2006, the denial of a special permit that was requested in 2007 that first requested a second use for office rental that was denied. Then in October of 2007, there was a request again for office rental, and that was granted, and Mr. Jelly didn't really object to that. We wanted to see how it worked out. He wanted Lee to have an opportunity to make a reasonable use of his property, but that permit then expired after 2 years, and then there was 2 additional special permits, one in April of 2012 and one in May of 2013, that being the most recent one for the music studio. The April 2012 permit expired after a year. That was for an artist studio in the back of the building. And so this will be for the front of the building. As I said, we just want to make sure the record is complete here because we may be back. I mean, history tells us that we'll be back at some point. I hope Mr. Draper's studio does well and we won't have to be back. But we just need to be prepared. So with that, actually, I'll turn it over to Mr. Jelly, who's lived there for over 50 years. So.
Right. When we came in 1963, the building was being used. Of course, it had been a trolley car barn back before World War II. It was being used for the manufacture of aluminum sailboat masts, much of which was done outside in the parking lot. That ended at the end of the 60s, and it became a manufacturing concern that made conveyors, custom conveyors for supermarkets and for factories and so on. We thought that that was a more intensive use, and we appealed. Then when we saw what went on, while it was manufacturing again, it was less intensive than the sailboat masts had been. They did things indoors. And that went on for about 30 years or so. And that ended, Lee bought the place and we went down from manufacturing to commercial. And that's where we are now with some studios that are not even commercial. So we've been gradually getting it further and further away from where it was and more conforming, which is our objective.
Thank you, Bob. So just to summarize, now we have the 2013 permit in effect that allows the flooring showroom, the music studio, and the warehouse. Office rental isn't allowed, but this rental would be allowed as an art studio and storage. We will note it's a second non-conforming use. We'll just note for the record that having 2 non-conforming uses, we say is inconsistent with your zoning regs. But we know we're dealing here with a change of an existing special use permit. We know 2 uses are allowed. So the fact that Mr. Draper and Mr. Pelosi are here suggesting a use that's less intense, that's why we're in favor of it. But we want to, as I said, keep the record straight that we're getting away from uses that are inconsistent with the residential zone that they are in. So as you consider this, I know you'll go through your regulations, make sure it complies to all the particular considerations in section 273.13. And we know, and we've probably said this in the last few hearings when we're here, the Jellies sympathize with Mr. Pelosi. They want him to see him do well, but of course there's inherent limitations on buying and operating a non-conforming property in a residential zone. We're happy to see that it's becoming more conforming. So we ask that you just give this a good look, and if you, as you consider it, actually some of the questions that came up are some of the suggestions we have for you to consider And to be clear, when the art studio was approved in 2012, one of the conditions, and it's in your package, that there was no classes, exhibitions, or retail sales. And I think we heard from Mr. Draper and Lee that none of that is considered, but I think it would be a good protection for the residents and the neighbors that that be a condition, because if Mr. Draper leaves, but another artist comes in, and he wants to have exhibitions or classes or sales, we want to make it clear that this is really just an art studio and a storage space. I wasn't really thinking about operating hours because it is just a studio space. And I don't know that Bob had any concerns about that. If Mr. Draper wanted to come in late at night and do work, I don't see that as a problem. But you did have operating hours on the music studio, but I don't think it's quite the same. And again, just to keep the signs to a minimum. I don't know if any signs are planned. There's none in the application. And currently, the special permit expires on May 9th, 2017, and we would just ask that every other special permit had an expiration date on it so you could see the impact on the neighborhood and give this commission and the neighbors an opportunity to revisit it. So we would just ask that you keep the same expiration date and leave it so that it can be renewed. We don't really foresee a problem, but we think that's, again, a good safeguard for the neighbors. Anything else? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir.
Can I have one question? It's going to be continued?
Yes.
So we have to come again 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
Okay.
The 18th. Anyone else have a comment?
Do we have anything on staff on this? Any comments?
You have any comments for George?
Do you have any comments on this?
No.
Is it in compliance with everything? Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. All set? Can I get a motion to carry this?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Who's up next? Horse Island. Can I get a motion? Thank you, gentlemen.
Move to open. Oh, no, second.
All those in favor? Aye. 0 Horse Island. 0 Horse Island. Here we go. 0 Horse Island? Ah, sorry. There you go.
I'm annoyed.
They're all set. Well, no, they're all the same thing.
Got Sharon.
Oh, okay. Take one and pass along.
There you go. We're in the process of doing handouts. For the record, my name is Thomas A. Stevens. I'm a professional engineer and land surveyor. I'm here on behalf of 0 Horse Island LLC. Horse Island is in the middle of Joshua Cove. Horse Island is in the middle of Joshua Cove. The application is to install a new septic system, to replace the existing system, and also to remove invasive plants, specifically Asian bittersweet. And along with the Asian bittersweet, I have word that there's also a lot of poison ivy on the island. I talked to Kevin McGee about the bittersweet removal. I believe he has a letter for the record. He recommended that it be under the supervision of a licensed professional whose name would be provided to the CEO prior to the start of the work, that the work be done by hand. The critical coastal resources are the actual waters of Long Island Sound and the rocky shorefront on the property. The proposed septic would be 27 feet from the high tide line to the north. It would be 37 feet to the high tide line to the southeast. The proposed construction is protected by a silt fence. That's really it. It's very short, very sweet application.
No well here at the island or anything?
It's public water to the island. Thank you.
There's a letter here from Kevin McGee. I'll read it in. Dated November 4th to the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission. regarding Zero Horse Island Road LLC. The information provided indicates that the existing septic will be replaced with a code-complying system, and owner also plans on removing invasive plants on the island. The work for installing the septic system may have a short-term minor impact on the coastal resources. However, the new septic system should improve the water quality of the adjacent shell fishing beds. In order to make sure the coastal resources are protected during the construction process, I recommend the following conditions of approval. 1, erosion and sedimentation controls measures consisting of hay bales and/or silt fence be installed around the perimeter of the work area. 2, the Town of Guilford zoning enforcement officer should be notified to inspect the sedimentation and erosion control measure prior to any site work. Soil stockpiles should be contained by silt fencing and/or hay bales. Soil erosion and sedimentation control measures shall be maintained until vegetation is established or suitable material is installed to the satisfaction of the zoning enforcement. The treatment of the invasive plants be conducted by handwork by a licensed professional, and the name of the licensed professional be supplied to the zoning enforcement officer prior to the start of work. There's also a letter from Dennis Johnson, the Director of Health. Tests conducted on the applicant's property on September 25th, 2015 reveal suitable soil and site conditions to accommodate a septic system for the seasonal cottage. The septic system upgrade will provide an environmental improvement to the current system existing on the site. It is recommended that the applicant's proposed septic system replacement be permitted with the following condition: that the septic system shall be designed by a professional engineer.
Which you are.
Which
So
I am.
we've met that requirement.
There is another letter from Kevin McGee this is from John Goucher, excuse me, to Kevin McGee. Kevin, we have reviewed the above reference proposal for consistency with the Connecticut Coastal Management Act policies and have no comments for the Planning and Zoning Commission to consider. Please let me know if you have any questions or if you need any additional information.
That it, sir?
It looks like it is it.
So the poor licensed professional that has to do the handwork on getting rid of poison ivy?
Wear gloves.
Lots of gloves, extra gloves. Any questions, gentlemen? Last chance. Anybody have any questions? For, in favor? No? I'm sorry? Come on.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. Can you please let everybody speak up and keep them yourself?
We'll try. Loud as you can, sir. As loud as you can. They're having a hard time.
I'm loud. I can handle it.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Alan Brown. I live on 99 Charlie Road. I live about 175 feet from Horse Island. I'm very interested in the environment. The fellow that bought this property, I've been following what's been going on right along. The fellow that bought this property is very environmentally conscious. What's not brought up is he does not have to put in the septic system. There is a working septic system in there now. He took it on himself and said he wanted to put one in to help with the environment here. As far as pollution is concerned, that water's checked continually by the Planning Commission. If it's above 14 in bacteria, we shut it down. It very seldom is. Anyway, getting back to him. Again, he did not have to do this. This man's doing it on his own. It's costing him a fortune. Everything from his engineer. Get the about for that one. To the people that came out there and did the A2 survey. He had to get a hold of Cam. He had a lot to do this. He is what we need for all of us. This guy, what he's doing is right, and I believe it should go through with zero problems. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Appreciate it. Good work. Anyone else? Last chance. All right. You want to read the motion and then we'll discuss
So
any
we'll
last minute things.
close the hearing.
Move to close the public hearing?
Second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I'll make a motion, voted that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve a CAM application for Zero Horse Island LLC at map 7 lot 22 as shown on application dated September 30th, 2015 and prepared by Tom Stevens and Associates. This application is approved with the following conditions. Number one, erosion and sedimentation control measures consisting of hay bales and or silt fences be installed around the perimeter of the work area. Number two, the zoning enforcement officer be notified to inspect the sedimentation and erosion control measures prior to any site work. Soil stockpiles should be contained by silt fencing and or hay bales. Soil erosion and sedimentation measures shall be maintained until vegetation is established or suitable materials installed to the satisfaction of the ZEO. Number three, the treatment of the invasive plants to be conducted handwork by a licensed professional and the name of the person to be supplied to the ZEO prior to the start of the work. This application is approved based upon a finding that it conforms to the zoning code and is consistent with the coastal management policies of the state of Connecticut.
Second.
Okay. So, any other discussion? No?
No.
Nothing? All right, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? None. So carries unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Okay, can I get a motion for Ms. Pelleggi?
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Ms. Pelleggi? Mr. Pelleggi? Pelleggi?
Greg Marsh here representing Carol.
What do you got?
So, Greg Marsh, Site Wireless. Site Wireless. So last December, we had an approval for the water tanks to be buried. And then I brought it to their attention where they were approved is where parking is. So I suggested we move them on the other side of the house.
Yep.
So we're back to ask for approval so cars aren't parking on top.
These are the two tanks that they washed away in a storm or something? Is that this
Yeah.
house? Yeah. Yes, I remember this. Perfect. Okay. Great. Sounds like it makes sense.
There's a letter from Kevin McGee.
What does it say?
I'll read it out loud. On November 30, sent this to the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission. The applicant is looking to relocate two 1,500-gallon water tanks from the east side of the property to the west. The proposed location of the water tanks will be in a FEMA flood zone, VEEL 13. No erosion and sedimentation control measures or construction methodologies were shown on the site plan. In order to make sure the coastal resources are protected during the construction process, I recommend the following conditions of approval. 1, erosion and sedimentation control measures consisting of hay bales and or silt fence be installed around the perimeter of the work area. 2, the Town of Guilford zoning enforcement officer should be notified to inspect the sedimentation and erosion control measures prior to any site work. Soil stockpiles should be contained by silt fencing and or hay bales. Soil erosion and sedimentation control measures shall be maintained until vegetation is established or suitable material is installed to the satisfaction of the zoning enforcement officer. Were you aware of that? Of
Yeah,
these
it's
concerns?
typical
Okay.
what we do.
Just want to make sure.
It's all sand there now.
Sure.
And it really can't grow anything.
Yeah.
And we're gonna,
It's gonna bury some tanks.
Well,
so we put the silt fence up until it settles.
Go ahead.
We have one here from Mark Damiani, Assistant Town Engineer on this application. Cheryl Pelleggi. 133 Shell Beach Road, map 13, lot 2, zone R5, revision of coastal area management application approved on December 10th, 2014, relocating two 1,500-gallon water tanks, section 273-91. The subject application has been reviewed with respect to flood damage prevention ordinance. The property is located in two FEMA flood zones. The tank installations will require compliance with the ordinance in that the tanks must be anchored against the movement and flotation during flooding events. The details of the anchoring scheme is dependent upon the flood zone tanks will be located in and whether the tanks are to be above or below ground. Anchoring schemes are reviewed by the engineering department prior to the issuance of permits.
Yes, got it?
They were approved.
Right, so you're gonna anchor it the same way.
Same way, correct.
Okay. Good. Anything else?
Well, there's another letter.
Another letter?
Another letter, yeah. This one is from John Goucher to Kevin, dated October 13th. We have reviewed the above referenced proposal for consistency with the Connecticut Coastal Management Act policies and have no comments for the Planning and Zoning Commission's consideration. Please let me know if you have any questions or if you need any additional information.
Thank you. Well, good, so everyone's chimed in. Any other questions, gentlemen?
Nope.
All good? So, anyone have a comment on this? Surprise. All right, can I get a motion to close public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, let's deliberate it right now. Ray's got
I'll
it.
read it.
Go ahead, take it, Josh.
Voted that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve a revision up to a coastal area management application for Cheryl Pelleggi at 133 Shell Beach Road, map 13, lot 2, to relocate 2 underground water tanks as shown on an application dated 10/5/15. This application is approved with the following conditions. 1, erosion and sedimentation control measures consisting of hay bales and/or silt fence be installed around the parameter of the work area. 2, the zoning enforcement officer shall be notified to inspect the sedimentation and erosion control measures prior to any site work. Soil stockpiles should be contained by silt fencing and/or hay bales. Soil erosion and sedimentation measures shall be maintained until vegetation is established or suitable material is installed to the satisfaction of the zoning enforcement officer. This application is approved based upon a finding that it conforms with the zoning code and is consistent with the coastal management policies of the state of Connecticut.
Thank you. That's great. That's a motion. Can someone second that?
Second.
All right, so any other discussion? None? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? None. Congratulations, sir. We'll put some tanks in. All right, so we're going to skip over this next one, yes, yes?
Yes.
And we are going to go into the regular agenda topics. Can I get an approval for the revised agenda?
So moved.
All those sorry, we're just doing housekeeping. Can I get a motion for the approval of the revised agenda?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, first up is Dennis Carroll.
Second, by the way.
Thank you, good work.
Thanks.
Appreciate that. Dennis Carroll. Can I get a motion to open this?
So moved.
Second.
Who's in favor?
Aye.
Dennis Carroll, 101 Fair Street, site plan revision. Dennis Carroll? Last
Chairman,
chance.
since the action has to be by January 6th, I'd like to move to continue to... This is not a public hearing, you can just table this. Just table? Move to table.
Thank you. You have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Guilford Racket and Swim Club.
Receive and take action.
All we can do right
Move
now.
to receive.
Got a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Please join us.
Thank you.
I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do.
Just tell us what you're doing.
Okay. This is the site plan from a few years ago.
I'm sorry, just name and address.
Sarah Boone, I'm the manager at Guilford Racket and Swim Club next door.
Okay.
This is the site plan that was done a couple of years ago when we had to make some changes, and we would like to create a deck that is 10 feet by 20 feet to be used outside as a platform to put a tent in the summertime for activities for the kids who are at the property doing arts and crafts and other club activities as another space to use in inclement weather or just when it's really sunny.
Is this towards the back where the playground used to be?
Yes, it is actually on part of where the playground is. It's moving
This
some.
is substantially similar to an application that you've made before.
No,
It's
we've,
not?
no, we've never put anything in for this.
All right.
Meets all the, no need for any variances, reg, lot coverage, setbacks, anything?
No,
Okay.
it's good.
It's all good?
It's good.
Anything else you want to tell us, or?
Is that it?
That's about it, yeah.
All right.
So it's 10 by 10, you said?
10 by 20.
10 by 20, and it's Trex, so there's not...
Trek is the type of material they
Right,
use.
right.
yeah.
So there's some sort of wetlands in the back of you, but that's
It's-
way back.
Yeah, this is within our property where we're just moving a playground piece off and
Yep.
using that space instead
Yep.
for other activities.
All right. And Reggie, she's outside of the review zone for wetlands?
Yes, she is.
Good.
But you plan to actually leave this decking and use it seasonally. So this will be
The
there.
decking will be there all the time, but the tent.
And the tent goes up in
It's really just there as a base for the tent to go
Gotcha.
on, which would be in the summertime, when we have camps and more active
Right.
activities outside.
Good, nice. Good to have tents for kids. Any other questions, gentlemen?
Pretty straightforward. I can make a motion if you'd like.
Please.
All right, voted that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve a site plan revision for Guilford Racket and Swim Club at 420 Church Street, map 80, lot 2-1, as shown on property survey, property of the Susan Netter 2007 irrevocable electing small business trust, prepared by Waldo and Associates, received October 26, 2015. This application is approved based upon a finding that it conforms with the zoning code.
Second,
Any other discussion?
it's not going to get in the way of rain particularly, and also it's in an I-1 zone.
Yeah. Plus, they've had tents there in the past.
That is true.
Okay. All right, so any other comment? No, you done?
It's early to be this punchy.
I'm sorry, it's early. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstaining? Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We have some permits to be received, I think. Someone want to make a motion to receive these permits and set the date of 10/2? 11/18 and 10/2. Someone want to
Mr.
make?
Chairman, I'd like to move to receive Raymond and Christine Iglesias, 1 Broad Street, map 39, lot 71, zone R3 special permit to allow a 1,224 square foot accessory structure carriage house under section 273-94, receive and set first public hearing date of 11/18 and continue to December 2nd for mandatory second public hearing date, and I'd like to put that in the form of a motion.
Second.
Are those good dates, Reggie? George?
Yeah,
Those good
they
dates?
wrote them.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Zoning amendments. What is this?
Cupola.
Oh, cupola. Of course it is. Can I get a motion to set this date?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move to receive a recommendation from the zoning subcommittee to amend section 273-31 exceptions to height requirements to add flagpoles, chimneys, and ornamental cupolas not capable of use for human occupancy and which do not occupy more than 10% of the projected roof area. Receive and set public hearing dates for December 2nd and December 16.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Town of Guilford, who wants to do this one? Oh, this is great. This is wonderful. Who wants to do this? Got it?
Recommend that site plan for the town of Guilford revision, create dog park within Nut Plains Park property, Nut Plains Road, map 86, lot 63, zone R5, set and receive and take action by 1/6/16.
I'll second that if that's a motion. What,
Yeah.
2016?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it too.
January 6, 2016.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so we don't need to do the correspondence, do we now? Oh, well, no, we do. We have to get these folks in and out. This is a request to revisit the illumination of the signs at DDR.
Chuck, to address this?
Yeah, Chuck, why don't you tell us why we're here?
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, as you may recall, at your last meeting, you had a vote on a proposed petition to amend the zoning regulations by D.D. Dar concerning outdoor lighting. That motion was denied. There were a couple of motions, and the motion did not pass. There was a 3-3 vote in favor of adopting it, and a tie is a denial. After that happened, I believe the next day or the day after, the applicant for DDR had requested that the commission reconsider the vote. The ground being that the expectation on behalf of the applicant was that it would be 7 members on the commission that voted. You have to have the statutes require that it be a majority of the entire commission, so you need 4 votes to pass. and that their expectation was that, I guess, enough members would have viewed the tape so that you would have had a vote by a full commission. There are some rules as to reconsidering if you choose to do so, that you can do it. It has to be done quickly. It has to be before notice is published, when notice has not been published, so it is timely, and there has to be good grounds. Also, if you are to be reconsidered, it has to be, you follow Robert's rules according to your bylaws, I believe, and any motion to reconsider has to be made by a member of the prevailing, the side that won. So I believe there are actually 2 votes that occurred. The first was a vote to approve the text amendment with an amendment that it be turned off at 11 p.m. That was denied by a 0 to 6 vote. No one voted in favor of that. And then there was the just vote straight up on the amendment, and that failed by a 3 to 3 vote. And the votes were, I believe, when I looked at the tape, in favor was Mr. Underhill, Mr. Wallace, Mr. Bauer, and against were Mr. Meyer, Mr. Corbier, and Mr. Johnson. Is Mr. Johnson here? Perhaps you can come up, because you should probably participate in this.
Chuck, is it the ones who voted on the first amendment, one of those have to make the motion, or the ones who voted on the second amendment?
Well, the
second
applicant requested, you can do either. The applicant requested that you vote on the one that denied by a 3 to 3 vote first, and if that failed, then someone vote on the second one with the 11 o'clock limit. So that was the request of the applicant. It's up to you whether you want to do anything. But if you do want to do a reconsider, that's the order that they requested, that a request to reconsider the straight text amendment first. That, and any motion to do that would have to be made by Mr. Meyer, Corbier, or Johnson. And if no motion is made, it dies. If nothing happens there, then in any of the 6 that voted on the first one could resurrect that one. So.
All right, so, Mr. Corbier, do you choose to make a motion?
It's an interesting problem. As you know, Attorney Nuff, we approved a site plan, not a site plan, I'm sorry, a zone change for this tower that did not include illumination. And we approved that after you'd already brought in Bed Bath & Beyond, so it seemed like it was what you really wanted. It didn't seem like an incremental step toward what you really wanted. Illumination, internal illumination, is often not chosen by communities, as you know, around the state. And in this case, it's really, it looks like it would damage the aesthetics of Guilford, which I think is one of the reasons why we originally approved a tower without illumination. So I'm not really interested in revisiting it. I haven't seen any new information on it. And so, obviously, I mean, if the rest of this commission wants to move farther away from designs that are similar to Clinton Crossing and more towards Milford or Bridgeport, then that's its choice.
Thank you. So that's a no, right?
That's a no.
Okay. Phil, what do you got?
I really feel like the applicant did a good job presenting it, that the issue was fully debated and discussed, and honestly, everyone offered their opinions and voted, and I'm not interested in bringing it back up.
Thank you. Counselor, just one thing I want to say. I said earlier on that the only reason that this was approved at all is because it met certain aesthetic requirements by this town. They wanted it to look good. And I think that adding lights to the names on the sign will detract from how it looks. But I want to step further. I want you to know that I really take into account everything you say, and I take it to heart. And so when you made your presentation, you said it was for safety reasons. And so I went there, and I looked at where the lights are, and the lights don't face any parking area that's meant for the public. It faces a little roadway to get to some employee parking in the back and by some dumpsters. And so I think that,
I'm going to interrupt. The public hearing's closed, so we can't hear from.
Right.
I know in Mr. Nuff's defense, I'm sure he has a lot of comments, and I'm sure I don't want you to construe his silence by anything other than me shutting him up. But you really can't be talking.
and me too. So you know where I'm coming from. I got to say no. I'm not going to make a motion. I can't do that. Your court.
Okay, so the second request is, if no one, it sounds like no one is making a motion to reconsider the text amendment as was. Any of the six could make a motion to reconsider the text amendment as amended by the 11 p.m. closing, because everyone
Can we also make a motion to include part of that? For instance, the Guilford Commons part?
I think it's the problem of revising the motion and doing it again and adding new things. You could sort of work your way out of the.
Right.
You can make it back to the original motion
Right.
that no one wanted to bring up. So
But if we were
I'm a little.
subtracting, for instance, if we were including only the part where we add Guilford Commons, is that beyond the scope
I
of the
think,
Roberts rule?
here's what I think the fair thing to do is you just consider it as is. If it passes, it passes. If it doesn't pass, the applicant can revise it and come back with a new amendment and try it over again.
All right.
But I just think it looks too funny once we start, it's just too subject to manipulation.
I agree. So let's do it.
So just, if anyone wants to do that, and no one has to, you know.
All right. So of the original, we were all here. We were all part of it, except for Frank D'Angelo.
And a seventh, you can,
Right. So you don't participate.
on the, if a seventh person, if they viewed the tapes, can actually, if someone makes a motion, a seventh person can vote. Now, I don't know who would be seating. You get one other person who's visited.
I actually did,
Well, first of all, we got to get a
Well, you gotta
motion.
get past the
Right, we got to get a motion. Okay, so for the purpose of discussion, I'll make a motion that we reconsider the vote, as I was one of the six who voted for that motion with the 10 p.m. requirement. Right, I think it was 10 p.m.
No, 11 p.m.
And do I hear a second?
I will second.
Okay, so we have a motion.
All right, so we have a second. So this is for allowing the illuminated signs for the stores on the tower with a curfew of 11 p.m.
That, yeah. Right, that was the motion to reconsider. So, and then you got to discuss, once you adopt the motion to reconsider, then you actually do the reconsider and decide what you vote.
Okay, so we're
It
going
seems
to...
like a repeat.
Right, all right, so...
But we have to do it anyway.
Can we have a
Well, I made a
all those-
motion, and I thought it was second.
All right, so all those in favor of reopening this?
And who's actually voting on the motion to reconsider?
I think you vote on the
Motion to
the
reconsider.
6 people who voted, and you can add one more if they make it 7. I think you can add 7. for the
And if
motion.
that person didn't review anything, they can still
Provided the
vote.
person has,
And here we'll review the tape.
And who would that person be
I don't
in this
know,
instance?
who's ever out, someone who's reviewed the tape. Flip a coin.
Are you in or out?
I'm out.
He's out. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4,
George-
5, 6, 7.
George reviewed the tape?
George
Didn't
was
leave?
here.
No, he voted on it.
Oh, he voted, all right. So everyone else voted except for Josh
Yes.
Right.
So we have our
and Tom.
We have our
All right.
7, right?
Right, Tom, you reviewed the tape, right, Tom?
I was here.
Okay, yes, you were.
Yes,
there.
but you
just didn't
reviewed the
vote.
tape of the first hearing.
Oh.
That was the issue last time. You had the second hearing, you did not review the tape of the first hearing. Okay,
So you're-
you're stuck with the 6.
All right,
Well,
so,
I'll vote because I did review the tape on the
Okay.
first hearing. I was under the impression Tom was.
And then you were here at the second.
I was here at the second, correct.
Okay, so you,
all right, so everyone but Tom is voting on whether or not to reopen this. All those in favor of reopening this?
Aye.
1, 2, 3. All those opposed to reopening this? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4.
okay.
We are opposed to reopening it, sir.
Okay, so we're done.
Now, sir, one more
Chuck,
question.
thanks for walking us through that, because I don't know if we're ever going to do that ever again.
So when we turned it down, it was, it was not without prejudice. It was, so when can he come back to reapply?
He can come back, he could revisit it, he may hear what some of the comments were, perhaps make some amendments, and come back and do it again, and make it presented to you.
When?
There's
Next
no
meeting?
time, I think you can do it at any time if there's a change.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you very much.
If there's a change. Thanks, George.
Excuse me? Thank you. Thank you, Phil. Ah, well, that was complicated. All right, so
Sorry.
that brings us to, one more thing. Well, there's always this one more thing.
Two more things, Mr. Chairman.
But I hate these things. All right. All right, so let's do the Agricultural
Wait, George,
Society.
one.
What do you got, George?
I have another thing to add to your agenda, which is actually not on your agenda. It's a procedural thing. We
What do
have
you
a
got?
request to reschedule a hearing that you scheduled before on 74 Seaside Avenue. It was originally scheduled for 11/18. The applicants requested that it be rescheduled for 12/2. That's a coastal site plan at 74 Seaside Avenue.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Good. Now, the Agricultural Society, you all set?
Yes.
You want to handle this, Ray?
Can I
wait
maybe I
till
can
now.
preview that a little bit?
Go ahead,
You
George.
recall that you made the decision several months ago that no activities are permitted at the Agricultural Society unless they're proposed 6 months in advance or more. And the special permit revision requires that the applicant provide you with a list of their activities that are planned 6 months or more away.
Yep.
And you then before you to ask them if you have any questions about any of these, if any of them appear to be ambiguous or unclear as to whether they conform to the special permit criteria. You're obliged to let them know that, and then they can come back and make their case. So they've submitted this list, which you have in front of you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Do we actually intend to say that they actually had to file for the fair itself?
Yes.
Or just the other activities?
It
That's in
wasn't
here.
totally clear, but it's on this list. Even though we don't know the exact date, they probably do, but I know it's in September.
Right, so these are all the regular things that they always have. And we did not have a problem with these, except for the two things that were not on here is Friends of Hammonasset and the Turkey Trot. Are these worth discussing? The Turkey Trot is a couple thousand people, no? And it's on Thanksgiving?
No, it's, the way it was explained to me is that Hammonasset is going to be closed for certain types of activities in 2016 for construction or some renovations or whatever. And the Turkey Trot race, which is a pretty substantial event, it's a running race, which takes place on the property of the Hammonasset, is proposed to relocate, at least for this 1 year, on Thanksgiving Day to the fairgrounds.
And all around Guilford, right?
Pardon me?
All around Guilford?
I presume that the course would be on roads wouldn't be on the property itself. It would be on the street somewhere, as opposed to Hammonasset, where the course is within the park itself.
Right.
Here, the route for the race would be on town and state roads. But
So it's not, it's not, and it is before the commission. If this is on Thanksgiving and they're going to need a lot of police presence for safety, are we not committing the Guilford Police Department to a lot of overtime this day? If we say yes to this?
Well, we're just zoning this.
Right.
So,
Well, we're actually deciding whether we like this or not.
Mr. Lombard is here.
Oh,
Maybe he
Mr.
can-
Lombard.
yeah,
Hi.
maybe he can
How are you?
enlighten us
Yeah.
further on this.
The police issue, Gil Lombard, I represent the Guilford Agricultural Society. The event pays for the police department, so the town does not pay anything for it.
Enough said. Thank you.
The events, as George said, were coming here simply because they didn't have anything else to do. The Thanksgiving Turkey Trot, I think, has been 18 years. The Friends of Hammonasset, I think everybody will like that event. It's a Native American type event. The Run for the Cove has been going on, I think, 16 years, they told me.
Yep.
All three are 501c3 events.
Yep. That's perfect. These are excellent.
And so, Mr. Lombard, the Time Machine Car Show, I mean, obviously they're plenty of ways that that could be a 501c3 event. Is there a specific group of some kind?
There's another, the group is a different name, it's not Time Machine.
Right.
It's Thunderbird something, I think it is. They've been on the fairgrounds for about 7 years, I believe now. And I believe under our special permit, it allows races that don't even have to be 501c3.
Right.
So it should be allowed anyway.
Wait, the Time Machine car show is not a race, though, right?
I'm sorry?
The Time Machine car show is not a race.
No.
How does the? I mean, I thought that we determined this before, but I forgot. The Time Machine car show fits under the special permit.
Yes.
As it is.
It specifically says, I believe, car shows.
Right.
That's why. Thank you.
And the only thing I had a concern about was at that car show, there was a flea market too, or am I
There is a flea market that has to do with cars. Any kind of Model A, Model T, or whatever you might want is
Engines.
there.
Right.
Old mechanic pamphlets.
Food ornaments.
Right. I didn't hear about any complaints, so that would be good. And the only other thing, we have is the last thing we discussed, which is this food truck event. So I'm okay with all this stuff up above here. I'm not sure about the food truck event.
That's an event that we are sponsoring.
Right.
And the other thing, as I recall at the last meeting, you turned it down with a comment yourself saying that you had no problem with the event itself, but by law, you had to abide by the 6-month regulation.
Right.
So when is it?
They don't know yet.
Don't know yet.
But it's at least 6 months.
Or at least 6 months after. I got it.
We can hold in the winter.
At least
right?
6 months from now.
Hot chocolate truck.
Right, yeah, I
Hot
see.
chocolate truck.
All right. Yeah, right.
So it is limited from 11 in the morning till 7 at night. There's not going to be
Yes.
no overnight, no music at night, no. And the reason is, just so everybody knows, is that a couple of the neighbors in the past had been kept up late by music, and that's how we got to here. But I'm even in agreement with this. What do you guys think?
Members of the public?
Well, we could just call the question and vote on it.
Yeah.
Does anyone want to offer anything, any input at all from the public? Yeah, I always want to make sure you're included. No? Okay. So, all those in favor? What?
Oh, wait.
I'm still want to go back because George said if we have the agricultural society and the reason they have the property is to have the fair, are we saying that if they forget to put the fair on this schedule, that we would deny the fair?
No, we're not saying that, Tom.
We could,
We're
we could
actually-
still approve
It
the
does
fair.
say all events.
Right, and so,
That would be insane.
If we ever did forget, and we won't, but if we ever did, we would override our own decision and make sure that you could have it. I think I remember the first go-around, I said that if we denied that, we'd get shot by the public, so not to worry. We will have the fair as long as the Ag Society. All right, so, all those in favor?
Move to approve.
Wait a minute.
List as
Repeat the
listed.
motion, please.
Yeah. Move to approve events as listed. As
What you just
scheduled.
read off?
Got it?
Second.
Okay. All right, so,
Just want to clarify. Please make sure with the food truck event, get that filed when you know the date,
Yes.
so we don't have this problem we had last time.
got it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? None. Congratulations, sir. Thank you for all you do. All right, the only other thing we have, and it's, I have a rare opportunity, I don't get to do these wonderful things, but I'm announcing that we are having a new member of our zoning committee, I think, right now, the planning committee. And that's Ms. Torp is joining. So she's going to be appointed. Sarah Torp is going to be on the planning committee from here on in. She brings a wealth of commitment to this, and I'm glad that there are people that are committed to our town and doing a wonderful job. And if any of you ever want to be on any of these committees or commissions, we have plenty of openings, so don't hesitate.
Doesn't it seem great?
You too can sit up here at some point. So I want to thank Sarah for volunteering to do this. Thank you very much, Sarah. All right. Anything else before we get to it, or do we just get to it?
That's it.
Let's get to it. Come on.
I have one question on the minutes.
Minutes?
We got just some housekeeping.
Minutes are after. We'll do the minutes after. Yeah, we'll do the minutes at the end.
Yeah, we'll pay the bills. We'll get some quick here. All right, so here we go. Here we go.
Can I make a motion to approve the minutes?
I got one.
Well, he wanted to do it later, but if you want to do it, he's got one for you. Want to just do it and get it over with? Pay the bills too.
Yeah, let's pay the.
All right, let's go.
Well, first I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the 10/21 hearing.
We have enough.
I got an
Second.
I have an update.
Okay.
The agenda for that meeting was not April 15th, 2015, it was October 21st, 2015.
Got it?
So amended, so seconded.
All set, all those in favor?
Wait a minute, I'm not done.
Wait.
There are typo errors in here. On page 4, under approval of the sentence, says Commissioner Hirschman read letters from Health Director Dennis Johnson and Environmental Senator Kevin McGee into the record. The commission unanimously agreed that his. I think you meant that this.
Got that, Tom? Lisa?
I don't have my minutes, so I can't.
Oh, well, you'll
I'll give you
review this
I'll
tape.
give you this.
Is that
There
it?
was one other one too that was like that. On, no, I guess not.
Is that it, sir?
So amended, so seconded.
All those in favor? One other thing, can we just pay the bills real quick?
Yep.
Move to pay the bills.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, so, somebody make a motion to open up this William Thompson thing.
It's already open. Oh, no. Move to open.
Shannon,
Second.
how much time you
All those in favor?
got? Aye.
Aye.
Here we go. Oh!
Yeah, town
Come on up.
council.
While you're coming up, Town Council is going to just give us a quick talk. Chuck?
Just the chair and staff asked me to say a couple of quick words on just general matters, and it particularly applies to matters that receive a lot of publicity, where you're in the public eye, where you may get accosted, in a grocery store and that sort of thing. And that's just a couple of concepts about, number one is something called predetermination. It's that you can, and the reason I'm doing this is because these are ways you lose cases. I don't want you to lose a case. Whatever you decide, I want you to win. So the couple of concepts I want to bring up your mind is that you cannot make up your mind before the close of the public hearing as to how you're going to vote. So you be careful in your public statements, whatever you make, that you be sure that you have an open mind, you listen to all the evidence, and hear what people have to say, and only after everything is done then you can do it, but make sure that you keep an open mind. The second is something called fundamental fairness. That's the idea that you guys are deciding, you don't show favoritism or bias towards one side or the other, you're fair and impartial to the best you can do. And that's just concepts that are out there. I'm sure you guys know all this stuff, but just as a reminder, and particularly in more high-profile type of applications, these are things that you need those sort of reminders. So that's it.
Thank you, Chuck. Appreciate your input. Gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Michael Rothberg. I am the proprietor or one of the main owners of Ocean Cove. And I'm here to tell you about what we plan on doing with the old stone house, so you understand what we do, what we plan on doing, and our commitment to the community of Guilford. That wasn't me. Okay, thank you. We design advanced computer-based sonar for exploration of the world's oceans and ecosystems. This is computer-based or computer-designed sonar. These are clean labs with computers. They're not the old-fashioned wet labs anymore. We have an interest in marine life. We have worked in the past developing desktop DNA sequencing for the study of the human genome, animal genomes, any type of genome, and we've used that in the past. We are applying our cutting-edge technology to a new field, marine sonar. we have a history of supporting communities. My family, I have a brother, a mother, and a sister who live here in Guilford. My family has other businesses in Connecticut. In Bethany, we have a manufacturing facility for over 40 years. We are not out-of-town owners. We are not coming in here to do something and leave. We are committed to the community. We are committed to keeping Guilford the way it is, visually, but behind the scenes, creating jobs, creating people, residents that go out, shop, live, and work, and go to school with all of us. What you see a month, 2 months ago with the Stone House will be there. It will look the same. When you walk by it, it will look the same. We are putting in new windows, maybe changing the landscape a little bit, but the windows even look the same. We're not here to change that. Are we going to operate the Stone House as a restaurant? No, we're not. The other restaurant is going to be open all year long, so we are committed to having a restaurant down there and making sure that people can still go down to the water and have somewhere to eat. People have asked me, well, why would you want to do your research here? Why would you want that building? And I said this last week, I know some is repetitive, but some people weren't here 2 weeks ago. We compete for the best and brightest engineers in the world now. That's what we do. If you look at our track record again, you look from Ion Torrent, Purigen, other companies, 454, we have started. They all are at the forefront of their technologies. To get those engineers, to get those people that make a difference, we have to compete against Google. I've got to compete against Facebook. I've got to compete against companies in New York, San Francisco, Silicon Valley. The day of taking an engineer and putting them in a windowless cubicle is over. I need a place where when they go to work, they look out on the water, their wife or husband or spouse or partner could come visit them, have lunch with them, their family can visit, and live in a beautiful community. I can't do that. I can't be successful. And I can't recruit the people I need to make a difference and to survive as a business anymore sitting in the office park. We have spent a tremendous amount of money buying that building. We're going to keep the building virtually the same. I said we're changing windows and a few things. The building is approximately, how many square feet? 60? What is that?
16,000?
No, this lot is
About 6,500.
about 6,500 square feet. It's public record. We paid $2.75 million for that building. If I didn't need to be there, I could have bought a 20,000 square foot office building over on this side of I-95, been in it already, and not had any of these hearings. Wouldn't have any of these issues. So there's a logical reason why we would do it. Why would someone spend that much money unless they got something in return? At the end of the day, of course, I'm a businessman, but I want to do something to the community. And by taking that restaurant and making it look virtually the same, that's our commitment. Our commitment to not change the quaintness, the fabric, whatever you want to call it, of this community, but at the same time, create jobs. These people live locally, they commute, they shop locally at the stores, restaurants, everywhere we go, they go. They live here. It's part of what they do and what makes Guilford wonderful. And at the same time, part of the district we're in, this town, Overlay South District, and I may or may not have it correct, goal was to create high economic businesses, cut down on the truck traffic, which we've done, cut down on the car traffic, which we've done, and at the same time benefit the area from the green down to the marina, which I believe we will do if we get this permit. Again, I don't want to raise the building. I don't want to change the building. All I want to do is develop the sonar in that building, which is a permitted use. Marine research is a permitted use, and that is what we are doing. Will show you the drawings of it. You can look at all the plans we've submitted, and everything supports what I've said. There's no, I'm telling you the building's going to look the same in the windows, and then you go look at the plans in Town Hall and see that I'm building a 20,000 square foot building. It's what we say it is. You can look at my family's history. You can go look at Lady Crete and Bethany. You can look at the work my brother's done, and you will see that we are always at the forefront. And I want to stay there. And that's my goal. And with your help, and your approval, it's going to happen. I'm going to let Will go through the technicalities of it and the drawings.
I want to try to make it so the commission can see and the audience can see. Does this feel like a good spot?
No. Not for me.
Can, turn it a little bit. Sorry. Okay. All right, for the record, Will Thompson, I'm an architect, 28 South Fair Street. I live and work here in town. What I'd like to do first is describe the property, review this survey, and then touch on what we're more or less planning to leave alone and what we're planning to modify. Site map. This is at the bottom, Whitfield Street. This is the Sluice Creek, which goes up the east side of the property. Then we have Seaview Terrace on the west side. We have another town road, Dock Lane, which bisects the property, and East Avenue. Dock Lane and East Avenue are town-owned. 506 Whitfield is basically made up of 3 parcels. Parcel A, the southern end that has the 2 stone buildings. Parcel B is the northwestern corner. It's largely an existing parking area, and it has subsurface septic, both for the stone buildings as well as this gray area is an underground easement along with the gray area on the west end of Parcel A that served the restaurant across the street. Parcel C is the northeast side. It abuts Sluice Creek. Part of it's parking, part of it is some subsurface septic, and actually for a long time it was kind of a dumping area. It's been cleaned up upland from the wetland area. The way the properties are set up, there are 2 zones. Parcel A is in the C2M zone, Commercial 2 Marine. That's where both buildings are. Parcels B and C are both in the R3 zone. The zone demarcation is down the middle of Dock Lane. Dock Lane is also referred to as Beach Avenue in some records, just so you know. What we intend to do is to leave the existing small restaurant in the restaurant use, although we want to expand. The ultimate goal is year-round. We're working on, it's been a seasonable setup. We're working on making that conversion so it can operate more of the year, preferably all year long. The existing larger stone building, planning to repurpose for marine research, as Michael described. In addition, we plan to add show you on John Cunningham's site plan. I'm going to have to move these. Sorry if I put these against your chair here. So this is the same map and overlay, the 2 stone buildings. We're also proposing adding a public access viewing area for the Sluice Creek and the marsh. Along with that, we want to look at a reduction of Phragmite and invasives so that this area becomes that much more interesting. It's quite a nice view when you actually get up above the Phragmite now, and it's also adjacent to the public road. So in a lot of ways, those 2 aspects, the aspect that we have an existing town-owned road, and we have the adjacent resource, it makes it a suitable spot. Originally, we looked at putting viewing area in this bigger lot, Lot C. Design review asked that we make it more connective to the restaurant, sort of connecting the parts of Sluice Creek, the restaurant use, and that viewing area. So we now are setting it down in that same parcel A. Okay. Couple of things. These are a couple pictures, photos. We've done upgrades for energy improvement. Basically, all the windows are replaced. This was permitted a while back. As you can see, the building is virtually unchanged. There are several minor adjustments to the doorways, and the other thing we're proposing, which I'll get into in a minute, are accessible bathrooms, because the building's never had them and the restaurant next door has never had them. So there's a slight modification of the windows for that. Here's a floor plan of the building. The end, this end of the building here is where we're creating accessible bathrooms that serve the restaurant next door and are entered from the north, as well as the new facility. And the reason that we're putting them there instead of at the building next door is to make, basically to make it, this building is very tied in and in the velocity zone, whereas this building is in the regular A zone. So it's nearly impossible to add on to this building for bathrooms. It's very difficult. So we're creating that access there that's never been for this restaurant in the past.
Yes. So the A zone, what's the number on the A zone and the number on the velocity zone? I was a little confused about.
Let me pull it off the survey.
If you're getting to it later, that's fine.
Okay, I'll do it now. All right, so what we have is we have an AE12 for the main building, and this line right here demarks where the AE zone ends and the velocity zone VE13 begins. So 13 cuts through the edge of the little building in that terrace area.
What's the actual
elevation?
Height elevation above sea level?
Basically, I'll get into that,
Yeah,
but the gist of it is, in the AE12, base flood elevation is about where window heads are in the existing building. And it's a non-compliant building. And basically, we're looking at keeping the improvements less than the 50% rule. Internal.
I'm sorry, internal wasn't quite the right word for me to say.
All right, well, and just to give you an idea, the sill elevation of the main building is about 5.5, around there, 5.53, to give you a reference. If you were to, I think we have a benchmark over here across the street, that's basically base flood elevation, a nail in that hole relative to the AE zone, if anyone wants to visualize. Let's talk about the landscape improvements. Our main goal with the two shells is to leave them largely unchanged. We have identified that the parking lot is not particularly attractive. So I've had John Cunningham and Tom Stevens work on this, and we basically created some islands with plantings, with suitable trees, as well as ADA spaces. And basically what we have is we've accounted, was it 69 now? 79. We're required to have 50 spaces. We have 79. With 79 spaces, we need 8 new trees. We have 10 new trees. The front area, we're cleaning up some of the patio surfaces, but we're leaving the basic green areas very similar. Our actual impervious area is decreased, and we have that on Tom Stevens' site plan. Okay, so total impervious was 13,012, and let's see, and the new pervious area is 2516, so we have a reduction there. And then as far as parking spaces, for the record, in the main building, 33 spaces are required. In the restaurant, 15 spaces, plus 2 for employees, 50 space total, and we have 79 with 3 handicapped. This application is for both site plan and special permit. Site plan, as of right, in the C2M zone is marine research. The special permit is basically including a provision if you were to be calling this an office. The CAM application should be attached to each of those applications. So in your review, I asked that you look at them each distinctly with a CAM piggybacked to those site plan and special permit applications. Those are my main points. Tom and John, do you have anything you want to add at this point? John Cunningham's landscape design, Tom Stevens, professional engineer. Okay. That's my presentation.
Good.
Mr. Thompson, I'm sorry. I guess I've got a couple more wave action questions about the large building is entirely in an A zone?
Correct.
AE. So, I mean, it has been carefully considered. I thought there was wave action that actually crossed into that zone in the last hurricane. That was not the case.
This is based on the most current mapping. It's in an AE zone. The extent
So
of
it's
velocity,
still water only once you get to the big building.
I'm sorry?
I mean, so there's no wave action by the time you get to the big
The
building.
VE is the definition of where wave action is.
Okay. And there's an increase in impervious in the parking lot?
Decrease in impervious, because the whole parking lot is considered currently impervious based on it being crushed stone aggregate, and we're adding those green areas where the planting beds are. So there's a net decrease in impervious areas. So our as far as impact, we're lessening the stormwater impact. It's basically an existing site, which we slightly soften the impact of.
So, but currently the crushed stone aggregate is somewhat pervious.
Not based on your zoning rules. And we
Not
checked
based on
this
the
out.
zoning rules. So the current,
Different towns do it differently, but
Yeah.
based on your current rules, no, it's considered impervious.
and so when we add the islands,
That's
that
considered
creates
pervious.
pervious.
That's planting bed.
So that's,
That's decreasing the net area of impervious surface.
so it's mostly, but it mostly stays the same because it's sort of a
No. it's
minor.
less, based on the amount, the areas of those islands.
So the current impervious in total is,
Tom, do you have the exact numbers?
Tom Stevens, for the record, no, I do not have the total. The process cell is considered impervious. There are 3 handicap access spaces that are paved.
Could you please come up so the mic can get you? Thank you.
Sorry. The handicap access points are to be paved. That's more impervious than
But by zoning, it's
By
the
our
same.
zoning rules.
It's
Zoning
the same. It's
deemed-
no change.
They deem that to be no change. However, these 5 planting areas for the landscaping and the garden area to the street side of the office are an increase in perviousness. I summarize the total new imperviousness is 1312, which really it's not new because it's already impervious. So it's really a net gain of 2,516 pervious square feet by virtue of the plantings.
it's a gain of 2,516 square feet of
Of pervious.
impervious surface
Yes.
over
What's there
the
now?
situation. Wow, okay,
The
thank you.
the parking is being formalized by virtue of the plantings that John's put there. So
Right.
instead of being random, it's more regimented. So the 79 spaces appear. If you look at Bing maps and whatnot, you won't see 79 cars there, but there's no visual guide to set up the parking.
No, there wasn't.
There's no drainage currently, there's no drainage proposed. Everything gently goes to Sluice Creek to the east. Septic, we're just putting in a line to a septic tank for the office building. We're putting in a line from the handicap bathroom to the existing tankage north of the restaurant. So it's 1 new tank,
I'd like
2 new
to
lines.
interrupt one thing about that. We reviewed the septic, and Tom did as well, Dennis Johnson, the health director. And in virtually every scenario we come up with for these uses, the flows are expected to be much less than the restaurant. I have record flows from the restaurant which the system was operating and accommodating. So the health director told us he was comfortable. Tom's added some structural elements to make some of the connections better.
It's an order of magnitude less than the restaurant.
Yes, correct. And it's an air system that actually can be tuned up or down. And it's a proprietary system, and that company is now providing maintenance to the system. So it should actually operate better than before.
I want to jump back to the parking lot. It's my understanding from what's been said, the only pavement will be on the handicapped sites,
That's correct.
spaces. The material you're using in the parking lot, is that going to remain the stone?
Yes, sir.
Just a small point, the handicap parking, there's dumpster would be paved underneath the dumpster.
I'm sorry, that's
And
my mistake.
and the access to the viewing station would be paved, just for wheelchair.
The other thing John Cunningham has structured the dumpster so it's in a small enclosure, because it's sort of been like direct eye shot in all entry points. So it's been moved basically to the corner of the existing parking area on that northeast lot.
Two questions.
Yes,
First
sir.
of all, the flood zone and losses. And your grandfather, right, because it's a 50% rule on that piece, so we're okay there. I guess there was a meeting on Tuesday where there was a discussion, assuming it's non-water dependent use, you're increasing, I suppose, the public access or the public view. Could you just go over that? Because I guess there were some issues that were raised by Kevin McGee in the meeting earlier this week. Or do you want to?
Do you want me to read it?
Why don't we read
I'll
the
read
memo?
the memo in
And then
first.
maybe we can address that now while you're up here.
We also have a memo from the assistant town engineer on the flood damage prevention ordinance applicability as well.
I'll start with this memo dated today from Kevin McGee. This coastal area management application is triggered by the special permit for change in use from restaurant to marine office. William Thompson, project architect, indicated that the office use will involve research on sonar and ultrasound for the use in development of devices with broad applicability to understanding marine systems. This application indicated that the primary use of the office space is computer modeling with no wet laboratory space requiring direct access to the marina for research. A water-dependent use are defined by Connecticut General Statutes, CGS, Section 22A-93, sub 16, as those uses and facilities which require direct access to or location in marine or tidal waters and which therefore cannot be located inland, including but not limited to marinas, recreational and commercial fishing and boating facilities, shipyards and boat building facilities, water-based recreational uses, navigation aids, basins and channels, industrial uses dependent upon waterborne transportation or requiring large volumes of cooling, or processes which water cannot reasonably be located or operated at an island site and use which provide general public access to marine or tidal water. The change of use of the building from restaurant to software development could be considered to change to a non-water dependent use. Connecticut Coastal Management Act authorizes the Planning and Zoning Commission to require the provision of coastal public access as a condition of coastal site plan approval for the otherwise non-water dependent use of the waterfront site. This application has proposed as part of the application to install a public viewing platform on the east side of the existing restaurant. After meeting with the applicant's design staff on Tuesday, additional concerns were realized within the application which should be addressed prior to closing the public hearing. 1. In order to provide for a continual public access along the Guilford Marina, public access should be expanded to include the driveway between the proposed office building and existing restaurant. The public easement area should be shown on the plans. In order to determine the impacts of the construction of the viewing, additional information is needed. The plans submitted do not provide the location of the coastal resources. No wetland studies have been conducted as part of the application. Phragmites australis are located, that's a plant, located in the location of the viewing platform. The location of the coastal judicial jurisdiction line needs to be identified on plans. Additional details need to be provided showing the design and construction methodology of the public access viewing platform which is required as part of the application. The proposed location of the viewing platform is in an area of dense vegetation. Information regarding the clearing limits and removal of invasive plants should also be provided. The construction of the viewing platform should be constructed in a manner that it does not block future public access along Dock Lane and to Sluice Creek. William Thompson Architects site plan should be revised to show the updated location of the public access viewing area. 3, trees and shrubs shown to be planted within the town of Guilford right-of-way should be located on private property so that the town does not become responsible for the care and maintenance of these items as required by town ordinance. As part of the final approval, I recommend 1, prior to the issuance of a certificate of zoning compliance, the public access platform be constructed and marked with approved public access signage and coastal access easement and maintenance agreement be conveyed to the town of Guilford. 2, erosion and sedimentation control measures consisting of hay bales and/or silt fence be installed around the permitted parameter of the work area. And 3, the town of Guilford zoning enforcement officer should be notified to inspect the sedimentation and erosion control measures prior to any site work. Soil stockpiles should be contained by silt fencing and/or hay bales. Soil erosion and sedimentation control measures shall be maintained until vegetation is established or suitable material is installed to the satisfaction of the zoning enforcement officer.
Thanks, Josh.
Okay, would you like me to respond?
Great.
Okay. We had a staff meeting yesterday. This letter was received this afternoon. Some of the points were discussed in different directions in staff meeting yesterday. What I'd like to do is address some of them right away, and then we can get into more depth. On this site plan has been revised since yesterday's staff meeting. 4.0, which is coastal jurisdiction line, is annotated on this sheet, as is silt fencing around the viewing platform area. Viewing platform is adjusted slightly to create a slight buffer. We maintain that we have very sufficient access to the viewing platform for the public. You have public roads here and here. It's adjacent to that. We're providing parking on my applicant's land to access this. And as far as easement in this zone, that's perfectly workable. It's once something is public access, it's public access. We do not see the need to increase the easement.
So they were talking about the easement from Whitfield Street up.
Well, that was a discussion that was literally brought up in this letter. We touched on it in the meeting, and I said I don't think that's a reasonable request. I mean, people will walk in here to go to the restaurant, and in essence, in intent, the restaurant's that, but it leaves no room for evolution. I mean, we never know what a property is going to be in 30 years, you know. And I think we've created a response to design review, which is typically your design kind of counsel, which I know you can listen to or decide whether you agree with or not. But we've deliberately tried to listen to their prompting to make a connection here, and yet it is still connected to public access.
So that if you wanted to go to the restaurant, the access would be up through Dock Lane, I guess?
And there's parking all along here.
Okay.
So, as well as handicap parking very near.
And just, I mean,
And this whole setup, and we can talk about the detail of it more in a minute, is designed so that it would be ADA accessible.
okay, I mean, having just gone to the Stone House for years, everybody would just go off Whitfield up this. Are you going to block that off, or
No.
how are you going to train people then to
We're,
use?
we're tentatively treating this, and we discussed this in staff meeting, that it is inferred to be one way. We're trying to lessen the signage. Most people come in that way. Occasionally someone goes the other way. If it became problematic, we could sign it one way. But
Okay.
the idea was to try to leave the fabric of this largely the same.
Okay.
The other thing is, we can easily pull the islands off back from East Ave, but in staff we discussed that aesthetically we like buffering that a little. It's a huge path of crushed stone. We're trying to soften the impact of that. It still has good width. I can pull a scale out, but it's suitable width for 2 lanes. So the idea was this is a more attractive solution. We could widen it. We don't have a problem with our parking numbers. In fact, a whole other aspect of parking numbers I didn't even touch on is our 50 required does not even take into account that roughly a third of their typical census are non-driving people to work, whether they walk or whether they take train. And that's based on the current count, and that's expected to be similar. It's sort of a transit-oriented development component, which also ties in with the special permit side.
I had a quick question.
Yes.
So, and I know you went on parking, but I just wanted to get back to this condition that Kevin recommended. So his condition regarding the easement and maintenance agreement, you disagree with, or?
I don't think we have a problem with an easement to the public viewing area from the public right-of-way.
But you have it in between the restaurants, you don't want that
I don't believe it's reasonable or needed. I think this is perfectly viable with that access. I don't think it's needed to have an additional easement there.
So you said...
That's my comment.
And just to review your words, you said that you don't think it's reasonable to have an easement there because we don't know what that'll be in 30 years. Is that correct?
What I did say that. I think the key issue is for what we're proposing, this public viewing area has more than sufficient access for the public at any hour that you would use.
Do you recall why Kevin had made that right? Like, obviously there was some sort
I
of back and
think
forth.
what he's trying to do is probably formalize the connection to the marina would be my impression. In reality, this has been a walkway for my memory. It's and if there's a restaurant here, it's the way to walk to the restaurant.
Right, but potentially you don't want to grant the easement because
No.
plans may change. And it may
It's-
not be a restaurant or maybe something else.
Right now, that's the plan. Is that it's a my understanding is this is to be a restaurant.
We're continuing to operate that as a restaurant.
Right,
all
but
along.
potentially down the road, it could be something else.
I can't
You have
speak.
to come here anyways.
Right, no, it may not be me. What happens if, 40 years from now, we sell the property and you have an easement in there?
Okay.
And it's not, as he said, there's clear access. There's nothing to stop people from driving in here. We're not going to run out and go stop because I don't know, maybe they're going to go walk over here, come get something to eat, walk over here. We're not going to impede access deliberately to our own business. That makes no sense.
Right.
It's counterproductive.
Another thing worth touching on, this is a fairly restrictive site. I mean, you can see how complex it is. It's not an easy site. If some other owner wanted to do something different than what's here, it would not be an easy thing to build out, and there are setbacks. So
the building currently goes all the way to the town road?
no.
There's no setback or...
No, it's, let me find, if you want, I can find the exact dimension.
Well, I guess what I'm
No.
really asking is...
So the building right now, at its closest point, is 1.2 feet from the property line.
And you haven't changed that at all in your...
Not at all. The only thing in our proposal to change, there's a little shed in this back that I'm removing inside that courtyard.
The landward parcel is parcel, that's on both maps, yes, that's C?
B.
B.
A, B, C.
So on parcel B, is that also public access parking, or is that just
Well, this is a
parcel
public
C?
road. So
No, I mean for the overlook. Are people allowed to
Well-
park under the current plan on parcel B?
I don't think we really talk
Well,
about that.
is that where
I
your
mean,
leach field is?
Yes, but it's
So
parking.
you don't want to pack the leach field, right? I mean, you don't want people parking on top of the leach field.
Well, it's all designed, and people park on it now.
Park all over it.
This is all H20, in other words, it's all designed for loading.
Okay.
But in short answer, there are a number of spaces.
On C, yeah, C, it seems the way you're presenting it just...
I think
seems
there's
like
19
C was
spaces
the idea.
over there.
Yeah.
So that's at least 3 or 4 more than the restaurant would need at maximum on that side.
And how big is the viewing platform you're proposing?
It's roughly 20 by 12, and then it has about that much area of ramp if it's a structure. We're having a discussion with staff about whether in this kind of public access it has the same setback rules or not if it's a structure. If it's a landscape element, it's a moot point. So I'm proposing it as a viewing area that's a landscape element at this application stage. I prefer to turn it into a structure, but I want to treat that as a separate issue. Okay?
George, sorry. I had a quick question. Were you, or Reggie, were you at the meeting with Kevin? And so what was this genesis and the result of the easement issue? Because I'm just concerned that it's in Kevin's memo.
We discussed the possibility of having a pedestrian easement over the existing driveway to Whitfield Street. It was clear that the applicant didn't want to do that. We don't take any votes or come to any kind of, final agreement among ourselves as to whether we think it's a good idea or not. It was left somewhat unresolved, and Kevin obviously believes that it is a good idea to require a pedestrian easement in that location.
Kevin's not here, but can you express to us what the rationale was for why you thought that was
I think it's because he thinks, it's not that he thinks that the applicant's going to block people from actually using it, it's because he thinks it will facilitate over the long term pedestrian access from the marina itself to this viewing platform. And right, it's conceivable that if there isn't a formal grant of an easement, that people might at some point in the future feel that they're not able to access the.
Now, is this typical for Guilford to require, because it does seem like it's an easement right down the center of their property. That
Well, it's
would-
long.
Well, not the center, but it would make it difficult to sell the property in the future if they wanted to do that. Is this something typical?
Well, I don't recall any specific circumstances quite like this. It's certainly appropriate and typical for us to require public access to coastal resources as part of coastal site plans where we're trying to achieve water dependency associated with a use that's otherwise not water dependent. So the idea of having a public access area there is definitely consistent with our past practice, and it's consistent with the Connecticut law. Whether or not there's specifically a need for an easement along the driveway or not is another question.
In addition to the public access area.
Right, in addition to,
We're already
they are,
offering that.
clearly the public
Next to a
access is
public
being
area.
proposed. On the subject of the location of the planting areas in the town road versus the driveway, I think Kevin actually changed his mind from the meeting, because I thought it was pretty clear in the staff meeting that we preferred the option that was being proposed. It was actually a better design. Now, Kevin's the person that has to grant the permits to allow the planting on the town road, and then he has the kind of formal responsibility for maintaining those plantings because they would be on town property. And I think we talked about the idea of creating some kind of obligation on the part of the property owner to maintain them, even though they're on town land. I think he might have been, maybe he thought more about future liability that he might have if it's on town land. I don't think it's a huge issue in terms of the project, but I think we all agree that it's more attractive the way it was originally
I mean, it
proposed.
wasn't a deal breaker either way, we're just trying to make it.
Conditions either. That was
Right.
not one of his conditions.
Correct.
I'm sorry. Marine research in a C2M zone is a permitted use. It's an existing restaurant in a waterfront area, continuing use, trying to expand it. We're adding public access in addition to that.
What's the height of the big building, the former stone house, at its highest point?
I'm going to grab a scale.
Mr. Chairman, you have two other memos, one from Mark Daniani and another from John Gausser on this subject, or on this application.
Let's hear from Mr. Thompson on the height, and then we'll read some more letters.
There's a small cupola, which I don't have on these drawings, because we're not changing the roof lines. So on some level, this is a little bit approximate.
This
but-
commission's
but
seen it more or less. We just-
roughly 18 feet, say less than 20.
So you mentioned that you're not changing the building. As you probably know, though, the current Town Center South overlay includes options up to 60 feet, I believe.
If deemed appropriate.
If deemed appropriate. If you guys have determined that you're going to leave the roof more or less as it is, which is less than 20 feet, would you have any concerns about the Town Center South overlay ending up adjusted to meet similar to be more similar to the height requirements that are in the rest of the town, which tend to be 35 feet.
So what are you saying on that?
Would this applicant have any problem with that town center south overlay either being adjusted downward in terms of height restrictions, or alternatively being removed to the effect that the height restrictions for these other zones such as R3 or C2M were to come into effect?
You're asking to understand if you were willing to carve out and remove this from the town overlay district?
No. Would you have any problem with the height restriction in this area being reduced?
I can't speak about other zoning. I can tell you what I'm doing is not changing the height of my building.
But you're not concerned, for instance, about, raising it to 45 feet or?
Raising it 45 feet, correct if I'm wrong, would definitely trigger a FEMA 50% rule, and the whole building has to go. So I don't think it's relevant. So I'm not sure how it's applicable here. Right now, the building's going to stay. I'm trying to understand the
But you
answer.
did, the point is you file the application, it's got to conform to the current rules, and this one does.
Yes, yes.
That's
We're not,
it.
there's no,
Right.
you said, this is what you see there now is it.
What we see
Then
there
no
now,
windows in.
that's actually,
We're not changing it.
So
That's
it's just a
actually the
hypothetical, I guess.
Yeah, no,
Actually, there's
absolutely.
nothing
What you
to do with-
see there is what is going to be there. I mean,
Yeah.
will we
That's
change the
actually-
color maybe? Okay. But is the structure of the building changing? The answer is no.
that's actually a comprehensive answer to my question.
Okay.
So that's
No.
good. Thank you.
I'm going to say it one more time. The C2M zone, this is a permitted use as of right.
Well, there's a letter in here from Mark Demini, November 4th, 2015. The subject application has been reviewed with respect to the flood damage prevention ordinance. The main building on the property is located in the FEMA flood zone AE 12 with a base flood elevation of 12 nav D88. The flood damage prevention ordinance, Article 174-9, compliance required states, no structure or land shall hereafter be located, extend, converted, or structurally altered without full compliance with the terms of this chapter and ordinance and other applicable regulations. The building is proposed to be converted from its former use as a restaurant to a marine research office. Therefore, the building is required to be brought into compliance with the ordinance. Article 174-18, specific standards, Section A, subsection 2 of the ordinance states that non-residential constructions, such as an office that is located in an AE zone, may be flood-proofed in lieu of being elevated. It is recommended that prior to approval of the application, that the applicant demonstrates that the building can be brought into compliance with provisions of the ordinance. Upon demonstration of compliance, other items on the proposed site plan, such as planting of trees in the town right-of-way, can be addressed. And then there's one more from John Goucher, dated October 22nd. Kevin, we have reviewed the above referenced proposal for consistency with the Connecticut Coastal Management Act policies and have no comment for the Planning and Zoning Commission, Commission's consideration. Please let me know if you have any further questions or you need any additional information.
Good, thank you.
All right, so Mark's letter was issued this afternoon, I don't know, 4:30?
Probably.
Well, I saw it in email maybe 5 o'clock. Basically, it's based on the FEMA rules, which have to do with converting structures. We're not converting the structure is remaining as it is. We're making a zoning conversion, we're altering this use. Those are two separate subjects. That does not apply in this situation.
Well, that's what I was asking, if you're grandfathered under the
Yes.
50% rule, so I agree, I'm confused by.
I actually think that's not even, no, it's not, we're not, the word convert is not, in that statute, to do with, basically, it's a FEMA template, is to do with the structure. We're not converting the structure.
You're doing a change of use, not.
That's a zoning issue,
Right,
which is a
not-
separate
Not a
subject.
conversion of the property. Right. That's what I thought. I'm all done
Anything else?
at this point.
Walter?
Thank you.
Why don't we get the public? I'm
Yeah.
sure they've been
You all
waiting
set?
for a
All
long
set?
time. I'm all set.
Okay. If any of you would like to ask some questions, please feel free. Come on down.
We should differentiate. There are questions in favor and against. So
these are questions.
These are questions.
Yep.
Yeah.
Please come on all the way down so we can have you up on camera. Please.
My name is Barry Ward. I live at 80 Seaview Terrace. My first question concerns the access from East Road to Whitfield Street. I'm hearing that the southern terminus of East Road, according to these plans, is at the northern terminus of what they claim is their private property. And it sounds like they want to at least preserve the right in the future to keep the public from walking all the way down East Avenue to Whitfield Street to get to the marina and et cetera. Is that the case?
I'm sorry? Well, this is a public road.
Right.
This is a public road.
What's this?
Private property.
And I would say this and address this to the town attorney, especially since the man said that he believes since he's been around, or many more years, that the public has been using that path.
As have the property owners.
And I suggest that fact raises the legal issue that there's already an easement by prescription, either a public one or a private one, by people who live on East Lane who've been using that pathway to get to Whitfield Street for 25, 50, 75 years. That's a legal question. There's another question that I have about the use change. Apparently, the basis of the application for the special permit is that they're going to be doing what they claim is marine research. What they're really doing is computer research for some marine-related purpose, sonar. If they were doing computer research to design yachts, would that be marine research? If they were doing computer research to design fishing boats or submarines, is that marine research? I think I suggest there's a substantial legal question of whether what they propose to do is in fact marine research. I have a letter from a neighbor, I know he sent it to you, addressing that. He's a fellow who worked at Caltech. He was a professor at Caltech, which is fairly impressive to me. He seemed to know what he talked about. He didn't seem to think it was marine research. He thought more needed to be known. That's A. B, once they get in the building and they're on computers, how are you going to check what they're doing? Suppose they go into the building and they use the computers for 25 other purposes, not the sonar purpose, even if they pass the hurdle that yes, using a computer for sonar uses is marine research. Suppose, is there some process for you to check up on that? And then suppose you found out that they misrepresented that in the application, what could you do? I have some question also about the grandfathering, and I don't know, the town attorney should know this, but if they're changing the use, is that grandfathered? That's another legal question. And those are basically my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good question. Who else would like to ask a question? Ask a question.
It's not really a question. My name is James Silvestrini, 935 North Plains Road, and I walk by the area quite a bit, and it looks like you're doing a pretty good job there. You've got new windows. I think you have a local contractor there, and I imagine you're going to bring in several employees. Okay, hopefully it'll shop downtown Guilford. And the one thing I can't quite understand, I go along with the project. I have no opposition to it. But I've worked in several of the buildings at Yale University, their labs and everything. They're huge, big rooms like this. And I just, other than the fact that you said you want a nice environment for your employees, I can't understand why you would spend so much money on such a small building.
Well, first, I appreciate that. It goes back to the entire environment. A happy employee is happy he's going to work. If they're happy at work, if they go out, they walk across the street, they eat at our restaurant, they eat at the restaurant across the street with their family, they go back to work. And they produce, and they're happy during the day. And again, it's clearly cost per foot is astronomical. I don't deny it. But I know I will get a benefit out of it. And the employees do shop locally. This is a different type of employee. These are, for lack of a better word, geeks and propeller heads. They love local businesses. These people will be on the green, and that's the whole idea. They're going to be residents. They're going to spend money in local stores. They're going to eat, live, and work here.
All right, great. Well,
Thank you.
Any other questions? Sir?
Gentlemen, it's been a while.
Gentlemen. Good to see you, David.
Stuff here for a moment. Not on top of you per se.
I can
Put it
put it
over
right
here.
here.
Put it over
Go
here.
ahead. Get comfortable.
I hopefully won't want to be here for very long. I have a quick question, Mr. Thompson. Could you, I was way in the back. There are actually 3 parcels here, A, B, and C?
Yes.
And do I need to be out of the way? Actually, that was a good one, but...
Well, they're highlighted.
Okay, and then this is a public road?
That's a town road.
Okay.
And that's a town road. That's a town road, public road.
All right, and then you said that this was C2M and
C2M.
R3?
Yep, parcel A is all in the C2M. Parcels B and C are in the R3.
And that's divided by the public road in the middle?
Correct.
And can we put up that map for a quick second? So where's the parking for the old Stonehouse restaurant and the new existing restaurant?
Parking is utilizing the existing parking area.
Okay, and it's all in the R3 zone?
But it's all in place. So it's existing.
Okay. I'm not sure if this is a question for the commission then, or where to go. And maybe this is explained and I don't fully follow it. I mean, this is a new use, correct? That's why we're here, right? So does 270, Chuck?
Louder, please.
Sorry. Oh, that's the first time someone said that in a while.
273 what?
273-56 says that off-street parking and loading facilities as required for non-residential uses shall be located within the district that allows the principal use, unless an extension is granted under the provisions of 273-5B. And 273-5B says, we're getting there, where the boundary of a district divides a lot existing on the effective date of these regulations, or the effective date of any amendment of these regulations, establishing such boundary, the commission may grant a special permit to authorize use of land, buildings, or other structures permitted in one district, which is not permitted in the other district, to be extended into the other district for a distance of not more than 20 feet. Now, I think Mr. Thompson just told me that the lot is not divided by, or rather the zone is not dividing the lot. The lot actually is on one side of the public street, 2 other lots are on the other side. So I don't even think 5B applies. Has the commission thought about whether this application even qualifies for site plan approval if the parking is off-site in
Well,
a
David,
district that doesn't allow it?
They're going to say that it's pre-existing and grandfathered
Have
in.
they said that?
I don't know. But in the event that they do say that, what would an experienced planning and zoner think about that?
Different use.
It is a different use. Thank you, sir.
I could pay a lot of money to do this other lot, so.
Oh, go ahead.
Chair, Chair, repeat your.
What I did was I asked David, who's served for many, many years on planning and zoning, if this, if the applicant says that this is grandfathered in, is that something an experienced planning and zoner would accept? And David?
I replied that this is a totally different change, different use, change of use, that's why we're here.
Right. So we're here because it's a change of use, and we're using residential areas parking. Will?
Oh, I would maintain that it's an existing situation, that we're going to continue in that.
Is this a change of use?
Is this a change of use?
Yes. It's
Yes.
not a restaurant.
That's correct.
So if if what Mr. Grigsby has shared with us is true, and it's a change of use, then that can't be parked for more than, not even if it's more than 20 feet in, because that wouldn't apply.
I'm sorry?
It can't be used for parking if the laws that Mr. Grigsby has shared with us are true, the regulations, then that can't be used for parking if this is a change of use, and you just said it's a change of use.
Well, it's a very interesting issue that he brings up, and I don't know the answer to it, I'll be honest, but I know we're going to have another hearing, so I'd like to hear from the applicant's counsel and maybe our counsel as to what they think, if they can give us guidance, because I'll tell you the truth, right now, I don't know the answer to it.
I think it's pretty clear. I mean, you have a pre-existing non-conforming. Sorry, Peter Burdon, I represent the applicant. You have a pre-existing use of these 2 parcels as your parking. And so the use on these 2 parcels isn't changing at all.
Well, I don't deny that, but what David, I think, is saying is on account of the change of use, is it still permitted?
It doesn't alleviate.
But not in these areas.
Right, there's no change of use in these areas where the existing parking is. That's remaining exactly the same. What is changing of the use is this parcel down here. A portion of it is changing its use. It's going to be, using the ancillary parking that's grandfathered.
The other thing that I find interesting about this is we're trying to propose a way to make this facility work and leaving it largely unchanged. Rather than seeking to elevate the building, rather than raising the site, we're deliberately trying to make something that works within the fabric of this area, accommodates as much public use as possible, but also is viable.
Right, but Mr. Thompson,
yes,
you know we have to abide by the regulations.
I totally understand, but I want to restate the intent behind it.
I understand the intent.
That's a kernel. And back to what Mr. Verdun said, that the use of this parking area is unchanged.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Grigsby.
I just want to re-clarify, I thought, maybe I misunderstood, I thought the parking was for a marine research facility and or an office building. And right now, it's parking for a restaurant. It's not going to be parking for the office and or the marine research? Doesn't that change? That's my question. You don't have to answer it. You're going to have to hire somebody to figure out the answer, so.
Thank you, Mr. Grigsby. So, we are fortunate to have wonderful questions. Who else would like to ask a question? Ma'am, let me let her, you want to come first? Come on first.
Maybe you could have it queued
Hi,
up.
I'm Kathy Starrick. I live on Seaview Terrace and have the privilege of being pretty much directly across from the former Stonehouse Restaurant. I have a question about the bus route. There was there was a reception at the Stonehouse a few weeks ago, and there was a lot of concern about how the public school buses would be routed through. How will that be handled now? The public bus route, sorry.
The public buses will still do their turn. Okay. We have no intention whatsoever. I know there was some confusion that we originally put up the construction blockades, if you want to call them. They blocked the school bus route. And as soon as it was brought to our attention, they were moved. We have no intention of saying No, it's going to stay.
Another question that came up from a number of our neighbors was the lighting at the current institute where where you're doing the childhood research, and would there be the same through the night lighting at what?
What has happened, and Charles can explain, but we've had a problem with our cleaning crew not doing what they were supposed to. As soon as it's brought to our attention, we've gotten a new crew in, they're told to close the blinds and turn out the lights of offices that aren't being used. So there will be blinds on the window. The idea is to close them and not bother the neighbors. So
I think that there might be folks in the room who would say that that hasn't happened yet.
it's days, correct, Charles? I mean, it's...
That happened on Halloween was when we got the new crew in, so it's only
Okay.
been a few days.
Great.
Further, this building's much lower to the ground and will not create that lighthouse effect that 530 Whitfield does create.
So the parking lot issue, being a neighbor of the restaurant for many, many years and different businesses being through there, it has been often a disorganized parking pattern. What are you really proposing for the parking lot, and what will it look like? Because I'm still confused. Is it going to be park wherever you want, or are there actually going to be designated spaces?
So this is John Cunningham's plan. We were planning, we prefer not to line it, but we've talked about setting curb blocks, because then that defines where the actual spaces are, and yet in a kind of soft way. And then obviously the islands tend to organize the traffic flow a little better. Often when you line on aggregate, it doesn't look that great, and the curb blocks are a simple way to kind of solve that.
So there's still going to be access through here out to the public, and this
That is
considered a driveway to both businesses?
It's an entry point.
So it's part of the property that you own and not a public road?
Correct.
Right, but the intent, and the site plan is shown, it is a vehicle entrance point.
So
As
if
it
I'm
is
walking
now.
my dog, and I happen to go down here and out here, will that be okay?
Are you going to stop and buy something at my restaurant?
I might. I've been at the
It does-
restaurant,
okay.
but I
Of
think
course
what
you
my
go.
point is, people like to walk here.
Enjoy it. We're not here to put a chain. Why would I, again, if I stop you,
I'm asking a question,
If I
and
stop
if
you-
there's other people in my neighborhood who would like to
if
echo, I don't want to be the sole voice
right, if I
here.
stop someone, maybe I've just alienated and ticked a customer off. Why would I stop people like that?
That's why I'm
So
asking.
no, we have no intention. As a matter of fact, I've watched people go back and forth. I don't go running out there. We're not there to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Just one other quick question. When you say parcel ABC, that's one lot, one deed? You're just calling them parcel ABC, or did you get 3 deeds of these 3 separate parcels
There are-
legally? Or I'm trying to...
I can clarify that from Gessick's plan, but there are 3 different, in the application, I call out the map and then the 3 different lot numbers, but they're all considered 506.
Okay.
Okay? And in fact, early on, there was some conflicting stuff that I thought 500 was mentioned, which I then deleted from the record, but I didn't want to under-notice. I over-noticed and then deleted it.
Okay.
And I particularly feel badly to the owners of 500 because I didn't mean to cause any angst about that. So,
Good. Yes, ma'am. Join in.
Thanks.
Just
Hi,
give us
I'm
your name.
Kathy O'Boyle, 79 Leeds Island Road. 2 words you used tonight that I'm sort of curious about, Google and Facebook. Google has 2.3 million square feet of space. Facebook employs 2,800 employees and provides housing. How do you see your group affecting our town in terms of how many people you'll have working there and the drain on the neighborhood and the town?
Well, first, define drain for me. I'm not sure I
Well,
understand.
We see 79 spaces, but we also hear that people are coming by bus, car, bike, and walking. So how many people are going to be working in the
There will
building?
be 40 to 60, correct? 40 to 60 working here. And there's a limited number of space versus the restaurant, which had, do we know what the seating capacity was of the restaurant?
I can
I mean, there was a
pull
higher
out
capacity.
Tom's
than-
plan. It was based on number of tables.
So we're not looking, we don't have the ability to put 2,800 people or what have you. We have 40 or 60 plus or minus over.
So the restaurant is set up as 9 4-tops.
No,
I'm
well,
not-
no,
I'm
the
not-
old restaurant.
I'm not concerned about that. I'm
No,
concerned
no,
about
no.
how many people are going to be working in the space.
40 to 60.
How many days a week?
We generally work like the restaurant 7 days a week.
Okay. And what about lighting in this parking lot?
The
Have you
light-
started to think about lighting in
The
park?
lighting is largely left alone, except we've introduced 2 cutoff fixtures, one here and one here. This is particularly dark, but they will not trespass off the property, and I provided a cut sheet on those fixtures. And they're very low, residential look fixture, about, is it 12 foot? 12 foot wall. Yeah.
Thank you.
Did it answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
So we're going to come right back to questions, but we just want to take a 10-minute bathroom break just for everybody in case they need to. We won't do anything. We will talk about this. No more questions for 10 more minutes, and then we'll get right back to it. All righty? And welcome back. We haven't conducted any business nor discussed any of the application. We're going to get back to public questions right now. And again, it's just questions, not anything else but questions. Anyone else want to? Sir.
Joe Nugent, 423 New Whitfield. Would Mr. Rothberg like to mention his place of residence? He failed to mention that when he did an introduction.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm a resident of the state of Florida now.
Thank you.
Okay.
Florida.
For tax purposes.
No, I actually live there.
So you don't live in Guilford then?
I do not live in Guilford. I made it very clear from the beginning, if you can look at tapes, I said, my brother lives here, my sister lives here, and my mother. So I want to make that, there's no pulling any wool over anyone's eyes. I've said that.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else have any questions? 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 Questions?
Let's come up.
Come on up. Have some fun. It's fun. It's good for you.
Well, I just was wondering, you said...
Can you state your name?
My name's Andy Stevens. I live in Guilford, 12 Surrey Lane. Main question was with regard to how many employees are going to be here?
Between 40 and 60.
40 and 60 in the main building?
Well, that's what we're talking about, right? We have a restaurant here. We're talking about this piece right here.
And how many square feet is that at? 6,000?
Pull out the exact. The large stone building, 6531. The small building is 1,034.
So maybe 60 people in 6,000 square feet, breaking down to 100 square feet per person, minus walls and bathrooms and other obstacles. So there's no plans to expand the building for 60 people in this amount of space?
You can look at the floor plan, it's not.
I'm just making sure. It seems like an awfully ambitious.
No, it's actually fairly, not very dense.
Not very dense. We have no intention of changing the floor plan, the dimensions. We can't. That's when you run into all the, I can't even know the word, the FEMA rules, and then there was convertible stuff. This is it. What you see is what you get. That's it.
So it's all going to be office space and bathrooms, of course, the additional bathrooms.
Office space. It's going to be research space.
Oh, research space, okay.
In the bathrooms.
60 researchers and 6,000 square feet plus bathrooms. Okay. Just want to make sure that. And then I was wondering about the unofficial right-of-way that you guys don't want to do. You said that it's pretty much used as a right-of-way access for the community. The architect said that it pretty much couldn't be changed to be, you know, the lot doesn't allow for much to be done, but you're still hesitant to make it the right-of-way for access.
Correct.
So I was wondering what the reason is.
The reason is I don't know.
If you think it's okay, it's pretty much going to be used that way. The lot doesn't really allow for anything that would, in the future, be inhibited by using it as a
Let me
right-of-way.
give you an example.
Yes.
Fire burns down our building. If that stops me now with a new setback, what do? What happens in 10, 20, 30 years from now? If the property is sold, now what happens?
We come back here.
So
We'll
that
come back here
is,
and
you know,
look at new building blueprints, I guess.
So it is a use that we allow, and we have no intention of just stopping it.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. I know this is question time. I just wanted to follow up very briefly.
Me?
Did Did you have any concern about what comes out to about 108 square feet?
It seems like an awfully ambitious office space for 60 people, 6,000 square feet, 60 people, plus the restrictions of walls that are in place, you know, the stone wall, not moving walls. It's just a lot of people for not a lot of space. So, I mean, to have this grand new building with water views and cram 60 people into 6,000 square feet that's going to have additional bathrooms, it just seems like a lot of people for not a lot of space.
So 108 square feet per person is just kind of tight.
That's a 10 by 10 room. I mean, again, notwithstanding walls, bathrooms, and other, you know, utilities, things of that nature that really restrict space. And this is obviously not an open box. This is a chopped up old stone house that they're fitting 60 people into somehow, I guess. So.
Well, it's all laid out right in this plan, and it's actually not particularly dense.
If you say so. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just my question.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
No problem.
Appreciate your input. Thank you. Ooh, this gentleman and then David, I promise.
Sure, I'm Dave Hall from 456 Whitfield Street, and maybe nobody's going to like what I have to say, but I'm not sure it's really fair for us to ask Mr. Rothberg to take his land basically by eminent domain, so I'm with you on that one. There's a little concern about maybe a fire truck coming down here and having to make this turn to get up to save the houses on East Lane. If that were the case, has anybody checked to see if there's a turning radius here?
We did review this with the assistant chief
Yeah.
at the staff meeting, just so you know.
All right, and then I'm always concerned about the hours that I hear this building might be in operation, and it's a 24-hour day situation, and that's how you could fit 60 people in there in a day if you're doing 8-hour shifts. But I'm concerned about, you know, the Rothberg Institute throws a lot of light over the area. There is such a thing as, you know, the LEED buildings, and I'm wondering if you looked at the lighting to maybe keep that light within the building and not shining out with bright, you know, bright lights where you don't see the actual fixture.
Actually, we have a preliminary interior lighting plan, which is not part of the land use application, but it's actually using LED lighting throughout, and they're fairly localized fixtures. But I can look at that carefully.
But so that, you know, the light's
so
not...
there's less from the windows.
Yeah, but I'm saying not direct lighting, where you can look in and see a fixture. I think
Well, they're
with
actually,
it's-
they're primarily hung fixtures from above,
Mm-hmm.
so for the most part, that would help with that.
All right. And then, you know, the only other thing, I guess, is the hours. You know, I was up here, I was here earlier, I went to the meeting a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about the sign up there at the rock pile and how you want to limit the number of hours that sign can be on. Seeing as how you're changing the use here, is there a way to limit the hours that a business runs? I know you have scientists, they work around the clock, but it seems like at some point in time, the neighbors that are in the zone need to be taken into consideration. Thank you.
You bring up a valid point. Mr. Thompson, you have 60 workspaces. Are there going to be shifts? Are there going to be 180 people in here?
I don't believe so.
No,
I've been
no.
told that's the maximum number of occupants.
And that's all day long, that's not at a time.
We're not a manufacturing facility running 3 shifts a day.
Very good, sir. Mr. Grigsby? David? You ready, sir?
I just want to make sure I understood Mr. Thompson correctly. There are 2 applications or 3 applications?
There is a site plan application, special permit application, and then there's a CAM application associated with both of those.
Okay, I've seen the special permit application. I think I missed the site plan. The special permit application is for what?
So the special permit application is to do with it using the town overlay zone and allowing office use with transit-oriented development.
Of that building?
Yes.
All right, and what's the, and the coastal area application is because you're in the coastal.
Zone, it springs it for each.
All right, and where are the coastal resources? How close are you to the coastal?
Well, we have shorefront.
How close is that to the building, do you think?
I'll get a scale. The other one. All right, so your existing building is approximately 15 feet. I'm sorry, this is a 120. 30 feet at this corner. That's about the closest it gets.
To the coastal resources?
Well, to
That's
the
like
property
that's a-
line, the 4.0. In reality, was it 4.2, Tom? 4.2. 4.2. So 4.2, it's approximately 23 feet at that point to 4.2.
Well, what do you mean by 4.2?
Elevation 4.2
Yeah.
is basically a demarcation zone for, Tom?
It's the high tide line.
So the critical coastal resources.
Whereas, well, and in fact, based on staff meeting, even though we really don't plan development at the wetland edge, we have set up to have this map before the next meeting, so we're going to add an overlay of wetland mapping.
Okay.
That said, what I'm doing is I'm giving you to that watermark right now.
Okay, all right. So the site plan application is for an office building use of the...
No, the site plan application...
I'm sorry, the special permit.
...is for the office and the overlay zone.
Okay.
The site plan application is for as-of-right use based on the C2M zone for this building, continued ongoing for the restaurant and the public access.
Okay, and the as-of-right use, meaning, A, what is that?
Marine research is allowed in the C2M zone, as I've stated earlier tonight.
Okay, and that's the use you're referring to, right?
And then meanwhile, we have ongoing parking that's been in place a long time, and it's staying in the same place.
Right. I guess this is maybe a slightly of a procedural question. I'm looking at 27391, which is the coastal site plan review requirements. It ties in with the state statute requirements. And I'm looking at section 273, F as in Frank. It states that uses requiring special permits. In addition to those uses requiring a special permit, the following uses wholly or partially within the coastal overlay district, if permitted in the underlying district, which I understand you said marine research was, shall further require a special permit in accordance with Article 10. And then subsection A goes on to state all non-residential uses, including the expansion of existing non-residential uses, except retail stores, offices, financial institutions, personal service establishments, and restaurants located more than 250 feet from a critical coastal resource. If I understood Mr. Thompson, we are well within 250 feet. If I understand Mr. Thompson, the use he's referring to is not office, he's referring to marine research. So this is not a permitted use under site plan, this is a special permit use also. And I think the site plan application was wrongly accepted. Feel free to review with your counsel and clarify my question.
Chuck?
Well, I think a site plan is required as part of a special permit. So,
But I don't think that's what David said.
No, I think, I understand what David said. David said that the Marine Research Laboratory, which is allowed as a permitted use in the CMT zone is by virtue of this requirement in the CAM requirements, that's, you need a special permit for that.
Right, so even if, with that, even if they're gonna do marine research, it's still by special permit.
That's, yeah.
Can you look into that for us for
I will
next
look
time, or
into
do you
that,
want to?
yep.
Yeah.
Because we don't want on the fly answer.
Absolutely. And I think obviously their council will want to look into that as well.
Right, I'm sure you're gonna wanna have a rebuttal. So good, so that's another one we have to get an answer to
Yep.
for the next meeting. Okay, anyone else? Questions, questions, questions? Sir?
Rob Bunting, 133 Whitfield Street. In spite of reassurances from Mr. Rothberg that they have no intention of doing anything to the building, I think a lot of people are concerned that what assurances do we have that the building floods like Gloria or Sandy. I watched the water lapping against the windowsills at the Stonehouse. Oh gee, FEMA is going to make us raise the building. They can go to 60 feet, right? As it stands now.
Deemed appropriate.
Right, so
Under the overlay.
I think a lot of people are very concerned that, oops, we got flooded out. We've got to comply with all these regulations. And as someone said, just because I'm paranoid doesn't mean nobody's chasing me. Bittersweet Farm was purchased by Curagen, which was started by Jonathan Rothberg, and it was destroyed, flattened, which they had the right to do.
Excuse me, Bittersweet Farm?
Bittersweet Farm.
When we owned Curagen, we occupied a building in Bradford that was there.
And you bought Bittersweet Farm and demolished it with plans to build your corporate headquarters. And then Curagen went bust, and then you got out. What's to stop something like that from happening in Guilford with this parcel?
First, I can't control market forces. Businesses do go out of business, just as any other business can be.
Right.
What we're telling you is we have already invested the money in the windows, which are not cheap, and you'll say, well, that's no big deal. And I know everyone thinks that joke. But more important than that is the time. I don't have the time. I need to act because of first mover advantage in the industries we're in. Again, if I wanted an office building, I would have gone and bought one on the other side. We want the building here. I could have saved all this trouble, because now we've spent a month, we have to come back. I could have started from ground zero, used this town overlay district south, and proposed whatever it is you fear. And instead of showing you all of this and saying, laughing at the windows, and I understand that, you would have a plan here for a totally different structure. Why would I go down this path for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months? I can't then change once I give my permit. It's there. I have to put people to work. I don't have the luxury of 2 to 3 years to build a building.
There's lots of commercial real estate you could have built. A marine research facility that doesn't require access to water.
Again,
Your brother got $100 million a year ago for imaging systems which have nothing to do with marine research. As far as I've seen, I've done some reading on Jonathan Rothberg, no record of marine research in Jonathan Rothberg's life. He's a brilliant man. He's done a lot of great work. I totally agree. I believe personal property, private property is something to be respected. But what a lot of people are concerned about is, okay, the building isn't going to change. You keep saying you have no intention of changing the building. What happens when the next storm hits and the building is trashed and there's no reason for you not to go wild with this?
Let me just make sure, I mean, if that was to happen, you're going to have to come back here again.
Thank you.
With a new application, a new site plan.
I have to start from ground zero
This
again.
whole thing again.
Right.
You can't just do it as a, say, hey, look, I'm sorry, it got destroyed, what do you want me to do? You want to build a 6-story building.
As an
You have to come
example,
back here.
tonight, we actually approved this, for DDR's Guilford Commons. We actually approved a set of signs for DDR's Guilford Commons, which is what I was complaining to Attorney Nuff before. And then they came back and asked for internal illumination as well. And a set of us, put the stopper down on that. We only ever review what's actually before us at any given time.
I understand.
And obviously there's a lot of variability in this commission.
Right.
So that, but that's always the case.
I live downtown. This is a hot topic, obviously. I think I speak for a lot of people in saying that they're afraid of that slippery slope where, okay, George Carl said in the paper, it's not zoned for office. Doesn't matter what kind of office it is. Well, now, is this an office? No, it's a marine research facility. Well, it's a marine research facility that doesn't require the use of water. Well, why does it have to be there? Why do you put 60 people in 6,000 square feet when there's, you know, acres of offices everywhere around?
I understand your fears, but again, I can't.
They're concerns.
Concerns. It's a fear.
Legitimate.
If a flood comes, I cannot change and knock the building down without coming back here and going through the whole process.
Right.
So if I was going to do all that and invest all this time and money, I would have done that from the get-go.
Right.
Time is important to us.
Right.
And
but then you'll have a special permit. You'll already have a special permit.
I'm actually not
Does that-
applying. To make this clear, the special permit is if they decide that marine research isn't acceptable. The marine research is the primary goal here.
Right.
That's our goal.
Right.
This is in case they say, well, you don't do marine research, but you follow town overlay South District, okay. And that permit doesn't allow me to change the building. None of those permits allow me to raise or change this building. That's the most important thing here.
Right.
The whole entire process has to start again.
Right.
And I understand, you know, what you read about what my brother raising money for, but he's not going to tip. And we're not going to say we raise money. Before he invented the desktop sequencing DNA machine, nobody knew what he was doing.
I understand.
So I understand your concern.
I totally, I mean, he's a brilliant man. I'm a working artist in town. We went out and looked at Bittersweet Farm to rent space from my business at the time. And then, you know, there were 24 businesses there that got thrown out, and it's not directly equivalent, but that's where the concern comes, is that, okay, you've got this parcel of land, it's on the water, it's not really permitted to be used for what it is, but now you're trying to get it to be permitted to use for something different. Okay, that's the slippery slope that a lot of people are concerned. I'm just telling you that people are concerned about that.
To be clear, what we are asking for a permit for is absolutely permitted here.
Right.
It is zoned for marine research.
Well, then why do we have to do this?
You have to have a site plan approval.
Right.
We have to go through these procedures, and it's fine. It also helps people understand what we're doing, to alleviate some of the fears and the rumors and say, okay,
well,
you know, I know people say the windows are going, but we're keeping the building. We're not here to change it.
I know, but as I say, my opinion, my feelings are colored by what happened with Bittersweet, and that's all I have to say about it. And I don't think I'm alone in town.
Chairman, thanks. Let me clarify one thing, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I think part of the gist of the question that the gentleman was asking had to do with how much, what other restrictions are there with regard to how much real estate or how many square feet of building you could actually put on these properties based on the existing zoning. And one of the things that's important about the C2M zone is that it's very restrictive in terms of what's called the floor area ratio. The floor area ratio in the C2M zone is 25% of the lot area. And that determines the maximum amount of floor space that can be developed in that zone. The overlay zone, the Town Center South overlay zone, allows for some exceptions to that maximum amount of development in terms of height, and also in terms of impervious surface, and in terms of use, but it doesn't allow any exception to the floor area ratio. So notwithstanding whatever might be sought in terms of approvals under the Town Center South overlay zone, any development of this property or any property in the C2M zone would still be limited by the 25% floor area ratio. In this particular case, I believe this property, the part of it that's known as Parcel A, which is the only part that's in the commercial zone, is approximately 25,000 square feet, which would mean that the maximum total floor area is somewhere around 6,000 square feet. So that's basically my understanding with the current building.
26,000.
26. So 26 times 0.25 is probably around 6,500 or 7,000 square.
Coverage is actually existing is 28.2%.
Okay, so you cannot build any more floor area. If this property were totally undeveloped, you would be limited to that 25% of the 26,000 or whatever the number was you just said. So the idea that you could build a large office building on this site under the current zoning is it's not possible.
Let me just ask this, George, for full disclosure here, could somebody try to get a variance?
Of course, any aspect of the zoning regulations, in theory, there can be a variance. Realistically, that's usually fairly small variations on what might be allowed. So the current zoning on this property severely limits how many square feet of office space can be created.
George, this might be a good moment to describe the street setbacks as well for the C2M.
I don't know what they are, but you have street setbacks on both sides. This building certainly doesn't comply with any street setback on the north side because of the existing, because it's 2 or 3 feet off the edge of the right of way. So again, that's another constraint. It's also been a concern's been expressed about what if they acquired the other 2 properties to the west, which are also in the C2M zone. I think there's two residential lots there right now. I think that area is about 20,000 square feet, and therefore you'd be limited to 25% of that in terms of the amount of office space that could be created on that parcel.
Thank you, George.
Our owners do not own this property.
Correct.
That's speculation.
Yes.
Did you say?
No, yeah, I wasn't really referring to that.
Right.
But those are also in the C2M zone.
Okay, and property misheard. All right, we have 5 more minutes. Anyone else want to ask a quick question? Sir.
Hi, I'm Andy Stallo, 500 Woodfield Street. In fact, I'm his closest neighbor. Very simple question, because I think what he's done so far has been really nice to the restaurant. And for those of you who don't know me, I used to own that restaurant. So I have a lot of concern about it. What I have a concern about, if we could see the one with the plantings.
The planter.
The landscape plans right.
I know Mr. Rothberg said they were going to allow the bus to turn around here. He's showing that he's putting plants in here with lights.
The only place that we're proposing a 12-foot light pole there and there, not in anywhere else.
Well, how much power is that light going to be? Because it's going to affect the people.
It's
who
a
live
cutoff fixture, so it will only illuminate this area. And I provided to the commission a cut sheet on the fixture, so it does not trespass off the site.
And there's going to be shrubbery in here too?
Yes.
Because the children are out here in the morning. Cars coming back and forth, and they can't see those kids with the plantings here. So my suggestion only, not to have these here.
We did review this with town engineers about site.
I'm not
No,
worried about town
no, but
engineers.
I'm just.
worried about the kids.
No, and I think it's very important to be worried about the kids, but it's a relatively broad area. I can grab my scale again. So there
Well, I know
is.
the property well.
You know it probably better than any of us. My point being is the way everything is set up, and it's shown more accurately to do with the engineering dimensions on Tom Stevens' plan, it's set up so sight lines do meet standards for safety.
Okay. And the other thing I'd like to point out, and I don't know, you have your legal counsel here, this Dock Lane never ran through to the slopes. Dock Lane dead ends on East Street. It doesn't. We did a title search down here because there was a question for title insurance, and this does not exist. This is not a street.
So that is my property.
All right, yeah. That's your property. For what it's worth.
To the east?
Hmm?
And you're talking about to the east?
Dock Lane to the east, right down here. And this point where East Street is, the sluice, is not official town road.
So that is, this would be contiguous then?
Yes.
So the properties would be contiguous?
Yes.
Interesting. Thank you.
But you might, that's good thing lawyers will go find out.
Interesting. Thank you.
You guys do have those designated as separate parcels, even if they actually
Touch each other.
come together.
The issue of separate parcels, I don't know.
Oh, no, yeah.
I don't know that's really necessarily an issue. It kind of overcomplicates looking at the applications.
Right.
The property was taken as a single deed. Whether or not the parcel's abut, or whether or not the town actually owns the feed of the road, I don't know off the top of my head tonight. Certainly, I spoke with your counsel. We'll take a look at that between now and the next meeting. Maybe we'll have an answer for you. Sometimes these questions are complicated and
Well, we still need access to the public.
oh yeah, you're still going to need access, and so we'll have that issue resolved before the next
That's the
hearing.
main issue. And then the other issue, I think, is to the extent you're saying those are separate parcels, which may help your case with the parking, if that's not really a separate parcel, and there's a change of use, you may want to just go into that a little bit more, too.
Yeah, no, we had talked about that
Okay.
during the break.
That area is residential.
No, I know that, but it's used for parking.
All right.
Okay, I'm all set.
All set?
Yeah.
Any last minute things? So we're gonna call it quits for tonight. We're gonna revisit this. So wait, we got one more thing, sir.
Just a suggestion for a sound system for next time.
Yeah, we're
Or not this room would be
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, we're not in this room, like our new
Like-
high school,
Yeah.
$92 million high school.
It wasn't available.
well, we're gonna try and make it available and see what we can do. I apologize.
Staff moved it here so that everybody would fit, because sometimes people feel like they're getting shoved out into the hallway in our smaller room, so,
Community center.
yeah.
Right, so
Community center is rather.
Yeah, sometimes that's booked for, I don't know.
we'll do.
Yeah.
We'll do better the next time. Apologize for the poor sound. I know the parking was horrible, so sorry about that. Anything else, sir?
I'm going to stay. If anyone wants to talk to me, I understand the commission cannot conduct business, but I am here. If you want to ask me questions, you want to come up and look at these plans, I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. All right, any other business before us? Is it the community center you want to go?
A location to be determined.
Yeah. All right, so can I get a motion to continue this?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor? Aye.